Lead gen for local service businesses. So you're trying to increase inbound calls or email inquiries for a local service business? Start by watching this 4-minute video when someone searches for window repairs. They could be looking for a local service, or they could be looking for articles showing how to do it themselves. We can't tell from their search term. They could have a cup of coffee and notepad next to them when they search browsing or researching, or they could have their phone and credit card next to them when they search shopping or buying. When someone searches for window repairs Dublin, we know they are looking for a local service, in Dublin. I picture them searching with their phone to hand so they can ring the local service business. So when someone searches with a geo-modified search term, a search term with a location in it, they are more likely to convert. If you can't sell to these searches, then don't try and tackle the non-geo-modified search terms: window repairs, blacksmiths, shepherds, etc. So start with geo-modified searches. Next, get your head round the fact that read this fellow, when you say your Dublin plumber landing page converts at 20%, you really mean that 20% of people who visit your page searching for a plumber in Dublin convert into an inquiry. If I send people looking for car insurance to your Dublin plumber landing page, then they ain't converting into inquiries at 20%. Tip: always specify what conversion rate you're talking about. In this I might call it my click-to-inquiry rate. If you're going to use AdWords paid search to generate leads for a local service business, and I suggest you start there and at least rule it out, then you need to know the difference between search terms and keywords. You're going to be bled to death if you don't read these 3 posts here: ... Sales happen when you. This is why I love AdWords paid search. The right person is the person searching for your offer. The right time is the moment they are searching. All we have to do is get them to the offer that matches what they were searching for. Get people searching for a service with a location in their search term to a page that shows that service and location. Here's a quick exercise. Google for tax attorney Chicago and see how many of the ads mention tax attorney and Chicago in their ad. If you're not based in the US, then do a search for something similarly expensive and for a large city. Even for something this expensive, Google estimates €33 CPC for top ad positions for search term tax attorney Chicago. Less than half of the ads manage to echo back what you were searching. Don't click on the ads because you're costing those advertisers a fortune, but I can guarantee that a lot of the landing pages you get sent to won't make it obvious that they are tax attorneys, or that they cover Chicago. Man, the competition for local lead gen is so poor. I love it. I can throw up the simplest ugly landing page, and get a 10% click-to-inquiry rate because I'm just echoing back what they were searching for in my landing page. When a graphic designer gets involved and beautifies my crappy page, the click-to-inquiry rate can be 20% to 40% for a local service business. My page might be a 2-column layout. In the left column, in the right column, ... Most businesses want the phone call, or people who want to talk on the phone. Hence request a callback rather than a contact us. Maybe half the calls will be new inquiries. The rest might be returning customers who Googled for the phone number, or people ringing back about an inquiry that's in progress. Obviously more of the form fills are new inquiries. I've been using CallRail and other solutions to track inbound calls. This is good if the blacksmith company has a few offices in the country, and we're using a different tracked number for each office. Sometimes we can see that one office is missing 20% plus of their calls and typically screaming the loudest that they're not getting leads. Go figure. The keyword can be captured in CallRail reports, and I think can be passed back to AdWords. I typically just download both the AdWords and call tracking data and join it up. I'm working on a better solution at the moment though. So not all calls and form fills are new inquiries, and not all new inquiries will be logged as a new lead. Not all leads will convert into sales. So these intermediate steps of calls or form fills, greater than inquiries, greater than leads, are actually just indicators of performance. We really need to see the number of sales that are made each week or month or quarter to really see WTF is going on. This might mean hooking up to their CRM, downloading their data and joining it up. Or often, trying to pull teeth to get them to log leads and report on sales. You should also read these 2 posts and read posts you might have missed in here. When it comes to a localized service industry search, Google Places or Maps is where it's at. Once you learn how that works, you can go pound for pound with any PPC ad. Amazing post, Andy. You've just laid out a detailed business idea. Maybe you should have posted on Insider Zine. You rock, Andy. Silently I've been following you. Thanks for all contributions you do on this forum. Great post, Andy. I launched my first Google AdWords campaign for my local business 4 days ago, so this information is particularly relevant for me. A great resource for generating geo-modified search terms is the geo-targeted search link. Is a great recommendation. Speed plus. Very tight info and super useful for something I'm working on. Speed plus. Awesome post. How much local SE traffic per month would you be looking forward to for a decent local market? I just did a quick research for a city with a population of 300k. The keyword Roofer City just gets 200 searches per month, which doesn't look like much at all. For what kind of monthly traffic would you be looking for when deciding to enter a local market as a lead seller? This a classic case of Google confusing things by calling them keywords when they are in fact search terms what people type in. Read if you haven't already. Let other people stay confused by this, while you know better. Those estimated monthly search volumes are for searches, aka search terms. People are going to search for. They will add all sorts of other words they might put before, after, and in between all those words. For example, best, cheapest, recommended, local. They're also likely to add the state code if it's a search in the US, for example roofers Charlotte, Tennessee. Just type it into Google and see how it auto-suggests. This is self-fulfilling. Then you have all the other locations in the city that people might search for, suburbs, zip codes, etc. Then you have all the other services that roofers provide. E.g. Tip. Find out which web page is top for roof repairs city and point the keyword planner at that URL and have a look at the suggested keywords, search terms, ! Put a filter on to include the name of the locations you are targeting. This will give you some more ideas for geo-modified search terms. Note that I don't bid on all these permutations in exact match. Modified broad is great for catching a lot of this, with the usual negatives of job, jobs, career, careers, salary, salaries, course, courses, etc. Don't get too precious doing this research though. Read these 2 posts if you haven't already. Hey Andy, thanks for all your advice. I joined here specifically to talk to you about AdWords. How do you go about creating your funnels and acquiring or charging clients? Are you creating funnels using your own seed money then trying to sell the leads, or do you find clients in an industry you know you can generate leads then build a funnel? Do you charge per lead or do you charge a monthly fee? Wow, I'm honored. Welcome to the forum. I specialize in local lead gen with AdWords paid search, but there is much more gold in here from people with more business smarts than me. Check out all the gold threads. In particular Anne's great summary post that I can't seem to find at the mo. I'll link to it when I find it. Great questions. I will reply in a few days. I want to write up a decent response. I've not cracked it by any means and am still slow learning it, but I can at least brain dump my learnings to date. Hey Andy, really amazing thread here. I've read some of your other threads, but I've got a question. I Google city plumbing, run the keyword finder on AdWords, and look at keyword ideas, ND. The top 5 are toilet plumber, Delta faucets, cleaning services, water heaters. So now what do I do with this information? Surely I can't make an ads targeting Toilet City, right? Or is that what the data suggest? I think the answer is just do it, but just asking for more info before I jump in. Very interested to hear the answer to this too. I am always curious as to how to charge for this sort of service and how to find customers. Would have thought all the big SEO or marketing type web companies have it cornered, or there is no real money in it. I am probably wrong though. Would you mind explaining how you use modified broad a little more in depth? I did some reading on some external sources. I couldn't find anything you had written about it, and tried to wrap my head around it the best that I could. So far, I have been doing the permutations myself on a very narrow set of search terms, and making each one exact match. Center has been great, but volume is less than I would like, and I feel that I might benefit from the extra permutations from modified broad. However, I swapped out the exact match search terms I was using to some modified broad ones, and almost all of the new modified ones were labeled low search volume, even though 60% of my exact match ones were not labeled this way. Example of how I was doing my search term previously in the ad group, not the actual terms: Phoenix, Arizona used car, Phoenix, Arizona used cars, Phoenix used car, used car, Phoenix used car, Phoenix, Arizona used cars, Phoenix, Arizona used cars, Phoenix as it, etc. My ad group with the new modified broad looks like this: plus used plus car plus Phoenix plus used plus car plus Phoenix plus Arizona Buey plus used plus car plus Phoenix plus used plus car plus Phoenix plus. As am I on the right track? Are my modified broad search terms overlapping or competing with one another? Meaning, would be sufficient as the only keyword on the ad group? Thanks for your help. I had started the process of setting up ad groups or ads or landers by city, but figured I should make sure I was doing it right, before I went duplicating it any further. Here's what I did. Maybe you can skip steps, or modify them for your situation. What I like about client work, is that you learn with someone else's ad budget. Ideally they pay you for your time too, so you're getting paid to spend someone else's money, quite different from learning with your own ad spend, where you're also trying to learn what products of your own sell, etc. Let me say that again: you can take on a client and manage their campaigns with no knowledge of paid search beforehand, just a willingness to roll up your sleeves and get stuck in. My suggestion would be to start with someone you already know. Maybe you have a friend or someone in the family who runs a local service business or is a tradesman. I started with an electrician friend who wasn't getting enough work. I offered to build a website for him and he bit my hand off. I didn't even know about AdWords back then, and it wasn't until a voucher fell out of an SEO book I'd bought that I decided to have a go. He agreed to pay the AdWords bill, and I didn't charge him for my time. He was just delighted that someone who knew computers was going to help him. Once I had my first client success, I was able to tell the story to other people. Here's the story I tell people all the time. Back in 2009 I was so excited about this first taste of helping someone get more work that I didn't renew an IT contract when it was offered, and decided to jump straight into selling this service to small, local businesses. I got onto a program for local business startups to get training on all the CRAT that I now realize we don't need when starting a business plans, business networking tips, etc. On those courses I'd introduced myself as a guy running paid ads to get businesses more leads, and I could see other attendees taking note, and a few would talk to me on coffee breaks. This was back in 2009, so I imagine you'd get even more interest doing this now. I picked up a few small clients that way, and again, it was good experience. I charged a small flat monthly rate, and naively thought I'd scale this on my own to maybe 50 clients. I quickly learned that a lot of these startup businesses weren't going anywhere because they had a great idea, No one actually wanted what they were selling, and no one was therefore searching on Google for what they were selling. So before my war chest ran out, I took a job in a company that was buying 1 meter clicks a day via AdWords. This resulted in a massive pay cut from what I was used to as an IT contractor, but I thought it was worth pursuing. I've only had 2 jobs since 2000, and both were so I could reskill and focus on a skill I thought would add value to many businesses. I noticed that not all campaigns worked out. Sometimes there just weren't people searching. Sometimes it was just too competitive. I could get a Dublin washing machine repairs campaign to work, so built Cork being the second biggest city in Ireland. I created ads, had them running, and cold called plumbers and electricians in Cork to offer to put their number on the website for free for a month, as long as they told me how many inquiries they got. I was surprised when no one took me up on the offer. Even back in 2009, these guys were fed up with the daily calls from SEO guys, Yellow Pages guys, and AdWords guys pretending to be from Google. Obviously I could have kept trying this, but I decided outbound wasn't really for me, and focused on inbound instead. I created lots of blog posts, updated my LinkedIn profile, and agreed to meet any business owner in Dublin who contacted me to find out about AdWords. I'd let them buy me lunch and they could pick my brains for an hour. I enjoyed it, got better at explaining things, asking questions, telling stories, and selling the benefits of AdWords. I didn't chase up, so maybe this strategy could be used to get more clients than I did. Nevertheless, I still got some pieces of work out of this, and started building up a reputation in Dublin. Working in one city for 5 years, where everyone knows everyone else, and sticking with one focus, AdWords really helps gain some momentum. I now know many agency owners in Dublin, and all the different clients I've had over the years has helped with referrals and inbound leads. Actually, this is a problem with my positioning. When you're known as an AdWords guy, anyone with a website thinks you can help them. If I get 4 inbound leads in a month, and I knock 2 out of the park in a couple of days, I then spend a lot of time trying to get the duds to work. So I spend most of that month working on campaigns that I can't get to fly, and that aren't going to pay me the next month. Like I said before, I'm still slow laning. Most of my revenue comes from being an on-site contractor. I go on client sites from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. from Monday to Thursday. I am available out of hours via email and work on small pieces out of hours every now and then. Mostly this isn't required. I've found to date that being a contractor who'll work on a client site is very attractive to larger companies compared to them working with an agency. I've took over 2 largish accounts doing this. If I could find people to backfill my positions, then maybe this can be scaled. But I'm not focusing on that at present. I bill them at a daily rate for the 5 hours on site, and a flat weekly rate for the out of hours support. I have one client business that I provide support to, and mentor one of their employees so that he can build and optimize their campaigns. I'm also helping to build out their daily ROI trading reports. So far this is working out well as a flat rate of euro 1k a month. Just to give you an idea of numbers. I've found that I get contacted a lot by agencies and other marketing consultants. They get me to build and manage campaigns for their clients, and effectively white label my services. It's a great way to get clients, because they will do it for me when they see positive results. They will also manage the end clients, which can be great when they are small clients. It can sometimes be painful as their goals might not be aligned with mine. I want to drive leads, whereas a website consultancy might want to sell more website functionality. An interesting model that ran for 12 months for me was a direct client in Dublin. He did window repairs and I built a landing page and campaign and put his phone number on the page. I owned the site and campaign, and he put his credit card details in the AdWords account so I didn't pay the bill myself and then have to chase him for the payment. He just paid me a flat monthly fee on top of the bill, to effectively rent the funnel from me. It lasted 12 months, with the only work I needed to do from months 2 to 12 being to meet up with him to get my money. Handywemodel.edit. I've still not answered the questions, but I'll get round to it. I thought I'd add the context first. It worth waiting for the answer, more golden nuggets. Andy. Why don't you try to build some digital assets that could make you some passive income? You can gather some of your clients and arrange a paid training webinar, Skype, etc. You can record it and make a Udemy course, or maybe you can create a course on AdWords or lead gen for local business from scratch. Another big hurdle to cross is, what does your customer base Google? What you call your trade they may call it by another name or factor in demographics as well. In order to work a PPC ad effectively you have to know who your customer is. Just a quick tip to help your own mindset, change the but to and in the sentence above and see how that sounds. You can read where I explain what that does. I'll add a couple more stories to that post soon. Lol. Is someone looking for a plumber? Not likely. Even if they were looking for toilet Chicago, they are either looking for a public toilet to use maybe, or looking for a store that sells toilets. Toilet repairs Chicago or toilet installation Chicago would be better bets to get in front of people looking for a plumber in Chicago. Saying that, I don't know if a people would search that, or just plumber Chicago. Like I said earlier, I start by looking for search terms that contain location names. There's a handy we multiply keywords function in the keyword planner. This won't give you additional keyword ideas, but you can always download them and load them back into the normal keyword planner. To be honest, I just use Excel to get loads of permutations. Now you can get ideas from Google, and can specify that all the search terms contain the location names. I dropped a how to doc in the Speedway forum that shows how I set up an initial campaign, a group, keyword, and ad. You should look through it if you haven't already. Yep, sometimes illogical stuff like that happens. Yes, these keywords are going to cannibalize each other. Don't worry about it for now, there's no hard and fast rules. I change my style quite a lot depending on who's going to manage the account after I've built it. Whether I think the volumes are going to justify the work put into building an intricate campaign out, and the fact that at the start you're likely to change your campaigns rapidly as you learn. For this case, I'd probably have 2 campaigns targeting the whole of the US. I presume there's only one Phoenix in the US. Campaign 1, named without the quotes, IP equals U.S. Google. Exact. The naming convention here is that it's targeting the whole of the US. It's for all the used cars keywords, that it's just targeting the Google network and not search partners as well, and that all the keywords in this campaign are exact match. A group, used cars Phoenix keyword, used cars Phoenix a group, used cars Phoenix as keyword, used cars Phoenix as it. For things the keyword planner says have sufficient volumes to justify doing this. Campaign 2, named without the quotes, IP equals U.S. Google, mod broad same as the first campaign, but all the keywords are modified broad. A group, used cars Phoenix keyword, plus used plus cars plus Phoenix campaign negative keywords, used cars Phoenix as it. The reason for the campaign negatives is to force those search terms to the exact match campaign, rather than allow them to be sent to either campaign. I'd call this preventing the modified broad match keywords from cannibalizing the exact match keywords. This post explains why you'd want to prevent Google from controlling where your traffic goes. Be aware of adding keywords with the low search volume warning. I've still seen keywords with that warning get impressions. Often I just load so many keywords knowing that most will have that warning, but I have no way of determining which beforehand. Good luck. If you're an insider, you should watch the 2 videos in these posts. Thanks for that post, Andy, for both the in-depth guide and the yes, but post. Real gold right there, ha. That's so funny. That's exactly what I was working on prior to joining TFLF back in May 2014. And in my progress thread on the inside where I was creating some info product or coaching course wondered why I wasn't doing lead gen. I've ended up coming round to lead gen and am focused on that for the moment. Funnily enough, I did a written interview for someone's website yesterday. Here it is : It's quite a normal route for IT support staff in the UK to go contracting and work on client sites. My choices back in 2000 were to move into management roles, or stay technical. I like being at the coalface and learning, so chose to stay technical. The obvious route for IT techies to earn more is to set up a limited company and charge yourself out at a daily rate. After 5 years as a contract IT support techie, I realized that I was always seen as a cost. Businesses begrudged paying me, and only did so to keep their systems running. It took another 5 years to get out of IT contracting, with me trying various ways to be seen to add more value. I wanted to do something that obviously added more value, and thought learning to create a website would help. The real break came back in 2009 when the economy was heading south. I had a friend who was an electrician and his work had dried up so much he couldn't afford payments on his van and had to hand it back. He had a wife and 2 kids with another baby on the way, and he must have been staring into the abyss back then. I can't learn for the sake of learning, so asked my friend if I could build him a website to try and help him get some work. He bit my hand off down to my ankle, and I set to learning a bit of WordPress and installing a free theme. I got him ranked top on Google for Kildare Electrician, the county we live in here in Ireland, but he didn't get any calls. Then an AdWords voucher fell out of a book I'd bought, and I thought, what the heck, let's try that. I still remember being on a client site in their IT support team when my friend rang me all excited saying, "Andy, I've had a call." I physically stood up and wandered around the office in a daze, thinking, wow, this actually works. It's like I found a true purpose for all my technical skills and creativity. I can generate leads for local service businesses. Instead of being a cog in a big blue chip company, I can now help actual people keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. I've since had a couple of jobs as I reskid, then I've gone back to being self-employed. I've managed a team of 35 AdWords specialists spending euro 120k plus a day. I've managed a team of 4 AdWords specialists building 120 meters keywords and ads to drive 15k signups a day. I've driven calls to a call center for tradesmen in the UK, created campaigns for the biggest insurance broker in Ireland, and work in a team driving sales for a worldwide online brand. Currently, most of my revenue comes in as a contractor still. I'm on client sites 9 AM till 3 PM Monday to Thursday running their AdWords campaigns. Sure, I don't feel that I'm helping anyone directly, but those businesses can very directly see the value in the service I provide. I also have a few smaller clients, and I work on their campaigns in the evenings. People liked the way I explained how to generate leads and sales via AdWords. I put up a lot of posts on my blog, and posted a lot in forums. This led to me building an email list that I emailed for a while, and building up some authority on forums, which in turn led to me doing some consulting for these smaller clients, and doing some coaching calls. It wasn't something scalable, but I enjoyed the one-to-one interaction, and finding out deeper what people's pain points and needs were. I thought I might bring out an info product or course. I really enjoyed demystifying your words. When I'm on a coaching call and looking over someone's shoulder as they create an ad, and then 10 minutes later they do a search on Google and see their own ad, I get a buzz at their excitement. They thought it would be impossible to set up an AdWords campaign, and now their ad is running. Sometimes they even shout to their wife to come have a look at the screen. Hearing the penny drop has been the most rewarding. Whilst I enjoyed giving people what they wanted, I realized I wasn't giving what they learned AdWords quickly, and created some ads, but they're not going to become full-time AdWords specialists, and they can't possibly do what I do with my 15 years IT and 6 years AdWords experience. I realized that the 2-hour coaching calls could have been better spent if I build the campaigns myself, then handed them over. They wouldn't know how to build the campaigns at the end of that 2 hours, but they would hopefully get the end result, which are inbound leads. It seems obvious now, but people don't really want to learn AdWords. They don't want to learn SEO, content marketing, how to create a website. They don't want a Yellow Pages listing, or an ad on Google or Facebook. They might not think that at the start, but eventually they will realize that they want the result of this learning, not the learning itself. So I'm now turning it on its head. I'm no longer interested in attracting prospects who want to learn AdWords, or want an AdWords consultant to build campaigns for them. Instead, I'm going to generate leads for local service businesses, and give some free leads to contact businesses that can fulfill those leads. If I give away 5 free leads to get a business signed up to buy future leads, then the cost of those 5 leads is my client acquisition costs. I'm also moving away from having clients who I provide an AdWords service to having customers who buy leads from me. I've a call center lined up to accept the inbound calls and do the outbound calling. I'm getting the landing page created, and then we'll start doing what I do best, building AdWords paid search lead generation campaigns. No. Not selling anything. I'm not trying to attract clients. They can read the story about my electrician friend here though. And in case you're wondering why I created this thread in the first place, it's not to generate leads for myself from the forum. It's because of all the PMs I get asking how to get started in lead general. I'm not doing them justice with my short replies, and it makes sense to have a thread to point people towards. Cheers, Andy. What do you use to track leads? I was looking at hooking a CRM's API into my contact fields. I didn't find much on going from landing page to tracking customers besides newsletter type opt-ins. Thanks for the reply, Andy. I'll read those threads. That helps. A lot of leads will be people ringing in rather than filling in a form. I'll be able to tell how many form fills were generated in a month by the AdWords campaign, and how many calls they got via a tracked number on a dedicated paid search landing page I've used and to date. But some of the calls are going to be someone ringing up about some work that's already in progress. Meaning not all calls are new inquiries, and I certainly don't want to listen to all the calls and work out what are new inquiries. Even then, not all new inquiries will be classified as a lead by the brick-and-mortar business, and their criteria for classifying it as a lead often changes based on who took the call. I found that when the lead-to-sale closing rate for the inbound teams was monitored, they would often only class an inquiry as a lead if they thought they could close it, to keep their conversion rates high. I've had clients complain that they aren't getting any phone calls. I then check the campaigns and ask them if they're sure they aren't getting any phone calls, to which they often reply, yeah, we've had a few, but they are CR at P. Overall, I found it difficult to track leads generated for brick-and-mortar businesses. Most of the time they don't have their act together enough to know where their leads originate from. It's just as well that most of them have a budget mentality anyway. Even if they believe their campaigns are profitable, they don't want to spend more than they budgeted for the month. The penny often drops after a few months, but not always. Even big companies have this tracking problem, and agencies can struggle to help them. A guy in Google told me that the AdWords agencies often don't get to know how many leads or sales are generated by inbound or outbound calls originating from a paid search campaign. Outbound sales can occur when someone gets a quote online, but doesn't purchase, and then the outbound team follow up and close it. Because the PPC campaigns only have the direct online sales attributed to them, and the inbound or outbound sales are not attributed to them, agencies often lower bids to not be unprofitable. I've spent so much time trying to create daily trading ROI reports for clients, joining the AdWords data with what they're reporting in their CRM etc., and mostly it's to no avail. At the end of the day, all that matters is whether the client is happy with the campaign performance. Often the proof is as simple as campaigns having to be paused for some reason, and their numbers dropping instantly. Maybe others have cracked this. Someone PM'd me this great questions. I don't think I have definitive answers, but I can tell you what's worked for me, and what I think. I think non-branded paid search is the first cold traffic type to start with, and since Google has most of the traffic, then that means AdWords paid search. My thinking is, if you can't sell to someone for product or services you offer, then how are you going to sell to anyone else? Also, use that traffic to find out what people are really looking for, and what ad copy they respond to, and build your landing page based on those learnings. Saying that, I think that it sounds good in theory to get your first clients via paid cold traffic. But I think the reality is that you define your offerings by speaking to people first. I know, this seems to contradict what I first said, which is where I'm still unclear in my head. I know that I've not generated any clients for myself via any paid media efforts. I've spoken to many people over the years, honed my stories, honed the way I explain the benefits of what I do. This has led to leads trickling in, either from who I've spoken to, or more often, from people they have spoken to. What I find I do then, is find out what people are looking for, and where I think I can get a steady stream of traffic and leads. Then I load a quick campaign to see what my volumes will be, and what my CPC will be. Once I'm buying data, I pay way more attention to it, and it's like my other brain cells don't engage until then. When I find something of interest, I can pause the campaigns, and then work out what money nozzle to put on the end of the quick and dirty funnel I've just built. Also, whilst I provide a B2B service lead generation, and want to move to a B2B product, the leads, I've realized that B2B searches are very low volume. For example, not many people search for solicitors' leads, or solicitor website design. But there are many B2C searches such as Solicitors Edinburgh. We both know that the businesses don't want the website, AdWords, SEO, marketing services, marketing products. The end result they want is the leads that all of the above generates. So the current strategy I'm trying out is to use the higher volume B2C searches by consumers, and use those to acquire the businesses. LinkedIn versus paid search? I suppose it depends. What I don't like about LinkedIn and Facebook is that your demographic of people who match certain criteria, location, sex, job title, likes, etc. If your offering has generic appeal to a certain demographic, then fine. I'd rather all my visitors had the same intent, rather than the same demographic criteria, to which I then sent a further reply. Actually, the first paid media campaigns to run are branded paid search. Bid on your brand name to ensure you get them to your site, and to measure any changes in your branded search volumes. As per this post. Lots of good stuff in this thread too. Thanks, Andy. I'm trying to find a decent way to track clients for a Botox doctor. I might end up having a few scripts made for me. I assume you have done so already, but just to be sure, have you looked at? Google will track clicks that lead to calls by dynamically inserting a Google forwarding number on your website that measures the calls made by users who have clicked on one of your search ads. I was thinking about using a Google Voice account to track leads. Put the Google number on the site and forward calls to the office. Track leads using the call log. This way, if anyone calls non-mobile because of my page, I still get credit. Just thought I would give this amazing thread a bump. And add this little nugget: lead gen is a great space to be in and pretty fertile if you know where to look, but many persons go after the usual suspects, leaving the real juicy ones open. As long as you keep delivering results, you will literally pick up $100 bills. Lol. Nice link. Thanks, Andy. Thanks a ton for sharing your knowledge. Always enjoy reading your posts. Quick question. Of all the local-based service businesses you have worked with, which verticals, industries do you feel have been the most successful? Great link. I honestly think we are in a golden era for lead gen for local offline businesses. As Andy mentioned, the competition on AdWords is a joke right now. I've run campaigns for many different verticals where the monetization has been via many different methods. To be clear, I've mostly monetized my AdWords skills by being an employee, contractor, or one-man agency, so mostly slow lane. The businesses I build campaigns for might be the end merchant actually fulfilling the leads, a broker selling the leads, or might have a platform connecting consumers and merchants. If they have a platform, then they could be connecting consumers and merchants via ads, PPC arbitrage, via form fills and phone calls using a call center, or direct to the merchant, or by taking a commission of the online sale. So it's hard to say which of the verticals I've generated leads for were the most successful, since they monetized so differently, and each business had different goals. I've been meaning to write down all the verticals I've generated traffic, leads, and sales for, so I might as well do that here. I'll be interested in seeing that list spew from my brain too. So here's a brain dump in no particular order, where the monetization could have been any or all of the above, and to varying degrees of success, including outright failure: electricians, plumbers, appliance repairs, window repairs, roof repairs, pest control, locksmiths, personal trainers, dietitians, nutritionists, chiropractors, physios, dentists, doctors, plastic surgeons, estate agents, houses, vertical bar flats, vertical bar apartments, vertical bar condos for rent, vertical bar sale, car insurance, home insurance, travel insurance, breakdown cover, car finance, payday loans, car hire, limo hire, coach hire, tires, vertical bar tires, tickets, cinemas, restaurants, bars, cafes, afternoon tea, massage, spas, salons, hairdressers, pedicures, manicures, car repairs, vertical bar servicing, mechanics, health insurance, flights, hotels, B&Bs, gyms, training, courses, classes, photographers, wedding planners, wedding packages, graphic designers, programmers, developers, architects, builders, cleaners, jobs all sorts, accountants, solicitors, vertical bar attorneys, vertical bar lawyers, vertical bar law firms, security alarms, vertical bar systems, letting agents, comedy clubs, yacht charter, cruise ship charter, opticians, laser surgery, yoga, salsa, Pilates, teeth whitening, funeral directors, telemarketers, call centers, bookkeepers, building materials, precast concrete, print design, business cards, motorbike repairs, vertical bar servicing, removals, bands, DJs, wedding rings, schools, colleges, handyman, painters, decorators, home cinema, tattoo removal, child care, vets, facials, dry cleaning, paragliding, shooting ranges, hypnosis, zoos, boot camps, wine bars, helicopter rides, laser hair removal, NLP, liposuction, golf courses, things to do, the weather. Maybe you can get some ideas from that list. Local lead gen is always going to be soft when you're competing with the local bricks and mortars businesses. When a player like comes in and dominates a vertical, then it gets tougher but not impossible. So many verticals are still wide open though. So if I get this right, doing local lead gen is pretty much marketing a local business by creating a landing page and getting leads for that client. If you choose a niche where most clients have a web page already, is the value you are offering an alternative web page where you have better copywriting and AdWords? Also, what is the pro and cons of setting up a web page that has multiple clients in a niche and charging them monthly, than say creating a web page for each one? I have no experience using AdWords or marketing or even creating a landing page. But I do have a family relative who owns a local kitchen and bath store, but the area it is in is mostly older population. Also the customers, from what I have seen, I doubt he will benefit much from it, but in thinking I can create the landing page and set up AdWords just for experience sake. Good idea. You may or may not need to create a landing page. The landing page is just a means to an end. You could be using their web page and acting as an agency, consultant, contractor, or employee. Of course, if you're able to create a better landing page and AdWords campaign that generates better quality leads and more of them, then you're onto something. Personally, I won't have more than one who I'm providing a lead generation for in the same vertical and location. If it got to the stage where I'm selling the actual leads on a first-come first-served basis, then I'd be okay to have more than one customer for those leads in the same vertical and location. You won't know till you try. I think it's a good idea. Maybe AdWords doesn't work. Maybe Facebook does, or ads in local newspapers. Your goal is to generate good quality leads for them, so that they get a steady stream of new business. I recently managed to pick up a small local hotel as a potential client. The hotel is actually my local, where I'll go for my lunch once a week, and where I might go for a few pints every now and then. We were there on New Year's Eve, and my wife was talking to the business owner. My wife was explaining how she thought they could use the function rooms better, and mentioned I might be able to help them generate more business. The business owner said she'd love to talk to me sometime. A couple of weeks ago I popped in for my lunch. I saw the hotel owner outside struggling to bring some new crockery into the kitchen from the boot of her car. I held the door open, and then picked up a few cases and brought them into the kitchen. Everyone in the kitchen laughed that I had a new job. We all know each other. Name BTW. Anyway, I said to the owner that I was going to grab some lunch and she's welcome to pop over and pick my brains. The owner, who's probably near to retiring, came over with her daughter who's there helping out a lot nowadays, and I'm guessing will take over the business later, bless 'em. The daughter came over with a notepad and pen, and they sat down next to me, and opposite me. I smiled and asked what my wife had told them I do. I find this is a good opening question so you can work out where they're coming from, and what they think they know about what you do. The owner said she thought I did websites, and that they knew they needed to get their website updated. I laughed and said I don't quite do websites. That websites are a part of what I do, but at the end of the day, you don't want a website, you want phone calls and bookings. They agreed 100%. Always a good start. So I proceeded to explain that people searching on Google for their hotel by name would want to find their website quickly, and be able to ring or mail quickly. They got their phones out and did the search and didn't like what they saw. Was advertising on their brand name, and also had their brand name in the ad, even though they weren't signed up to yet. But they were in negotiations. I then explained that these branded searches, I didn't say traffic, because WTF does traffic mean to a hotel owner, are the result of their hard work over the years, and this was the repeat business and referrals that they've generated. Did they want to swoop in and get those bookings and then charge them 15% for them? I then explained how many people probably search for hotels, Nusnus being where I live. Again, they did this on their phone, and saw the usual suspects of Trivago.e, and lots of other online travel agent SOTAs and directories. There was only one ad by an actual hotel showing. I explained how they could sign up to the directories, who then pay Google to get them bookings, or they could have their own ad running. I also explained the smarter way of doing things. That they should just load up some campaigns and see how much volume there is. If there's enough a potential, then that would justify rebuilding their website. If there's no people searching, or we can't get them to our site then why build the website? They liked this. Lunch arrived and they left me to eat it. As I was leaving, the daughter handed me a piece of paper with things they thought people might search for. I said I'd do a quick report and mail it to them. Can I have your email address? I sent the report a few days later. I'll attach it later. The next week when I popped in for lunch, She said the report was very interesting with a widening of eyes and nodding of head. She agreed to do €100 ad spend. At the end she also asked how she'd pay me. I said let's just see what the potential is first, and if they wanted to take it further after the test, then we could do mates rates later on. I got a free lunch out of it anyway. Lol. The campaigns have been running for almost 10 days. Here's the high-level stats. I showed them this last week, and they were really pleased. There was search volume, and they loved the ads when we searched on their laptop. Here's the stats segmented by device. Over half their visitors have come via mobile devices. They've already checked their website on a mobile, and they hated the copyright at the bottom of the website says 2004 to 2007, so you can imagine. They've asked me if I know of people who can build a website, and I of course said yes. Next time I'm in, I'm going to angle for the work of creating the website, and will propose they don't spend a few €K up front getting something built, but that it's an iterative process where we learn and the site evolves based on feedback from the site visitors, i.e. does their phone ring more or not? So I'll angle for a flat monthly fee to get the website built, and to cover the AdWords fee. I'll be happy with something like €200 or month mates rates, and excluding ad spend, and use this as a case study. My question for you. If you're pitching to local service businesses, then this Periscope I did might help you. It's my post-mortem where I got a yes in principle, in spite of screwing up the pitch. I posted it into this thread. Here's a video of me explaining local lead gen. Great post, thanks. Nice one Andy. Loads of key points in there. This video should help you local lead gen folks. There's a hidden setting that allows Google to bleed your AdWords local lead gen campaigns. Make sure you understand how it works, and then go and change it. Here's a video explanation. Haven't read this yet. My opinion, nothing major at all. Should have little bearing on anyone running PPC for local lead general. If, on the other hand, you are running PPC campaigns for local businesses on the management side of things, you just need their location verified to keep on keeping on. I did a local radio interview on AdWords and business. Dropped. Quick video on. Andy, thanks for all of the amazing information. Plus Rippy want to add a bit about one of your points regarding the Google keyword traffic research before getting into a niche. I've recently went into a new local service niche, after adding many different keywords and variations. I was a little hesitant to get in, but decided to just test it with a campaign and see what happens. The test results were crazy. To the tune of 400 impressions per day vs. only 500 or month that Google showed initially. I think this was due to a few reasons: so if a certain keyword or long tail variation got 4 searches last month, it will show up as 0. If there are hundreds of variations and long tails, this means thousands and thousands of impressions that just show as 0 before you actually test out. So I can't agree enough about how important it is to use AdWords as a testing tool, and being very skeptical of the traffic estimations. Within a day or two you can already know if the traffic is there or not at a minimal cost. In this case, it worked out really nicely for me. I've discovered a huge niche where others just passed on as their checkbox wasn't ticked in a quick research. This was in a pretty big metro area, so I had a hunch there should be more traffic than Google showed in the traffic tool. Last week's stats for a local lead gen client. We've now dropped desktop or tablet bids. A conversion is a phone call. That's a huge difference, but over a small sample size. Is mobile outperforming desktop for most of your local clients? BTW, do you use call-only ads for mobile, or do you give users the opportunity to visit a landing page? Out of curiosity, I'll work out the statistical significance. However, this client didn't get positive ROI in the last few weeks, so we're taking this as an indication to focus even more on mobile, which we've been doing for all clients that want phone calls. Phone calls are more serious inquiries, And it makes sense to get people on mobiles to make phone calls. A lot of clients are seeing more than half of all estimated searches on mobiles. We've a dedicated mobile landing page with a tap to call button, and very minimal copy. Google forwarding numbers have been implemented recently, and this additional data is really helping. I don't like the call-only ads on mobiles. I lose my carefully crafted and highly relevant headline, which gives me my nice center. And I think people don't really expect it to be a tap-to-call ad anyway. Worth testing again, no doubt, but way down on our list of priorities. I have a hypothesis that they work extremely well for some things, like restaurants and stores, and extremely poorly for others, like local service. I haven't tried them though. Was looking at inbound email leads for a client in Dublin. I didn't realize they got so many till I did a search in my inbox. We really must get conversion tracking working. Andy, quick question on the Google forwarding numbers. Do the phone numbers available from Google match up to your local prefixes? Meaning, does it look like a local phone number to potential customers? If not, how would you use conversion tracking? I'm glad I caught this post, and thanks for the info. Your approach to understanding customer conversion behavior is very similar to what's been coined customer journey mapping. It's definitely a much more holistic view of what's happening than just looking at points individually, such as landing pages. I enjoyed your landing page doesn't convert post 2. One of our businesses is a local real estate team. Between that site and another, we have just signed with Google for a special local AdWords program. We're spending enough that they are going to assign 2 ad engineers to work with us. They'll use us for a case study, and in exchange, they are going to take over management of the ads account and optimize it for us over the course of 3 months. Pretty exciting to be partnering with Google on this. It should be very interesting, and I hope to learn a lot. I didn't expect this, but they want to roll out of the gate with. I've never used their display ads before, so should be interesting. They are also planning on getting hyperlocal and targeting local websites to display the ads on. We should be everywhere for our local audience. I can share information as we go, if people want. Be careful. Keep a tight rein on the Google guys. I've never seen this work out well for the business footing the AdWords bill. I've only just started using the Google forwarding numbers. Previously we just used the client's call tracking data. I don't know if they look local. Good question. I'll have to find out. Oh really? Why is that? I assumed we would be in great hands. We will certainly be very close to the entire process. Thanks for the heads up. And we have set up the Google forwarding numbers for tracking. Seems to work well. Yes, we use Google forwarding numbers, and yes, they match the local area code. If none are available in that area code, it will use a 1-800 number prefix. I got asked a few questions recently. 1. How do you track the ROI if you don't ask for leads? 2. Have you any experience in pay-per-call? 3. Do you use call extensions in the regular PPC campaigns? 4. You talk about exact search a lot on Fastlane, but you told me you did plus service plus area, so do you write it exact as well, like plus service plus location? It's a question of incentives. Google's incentive is not for your business to be successful, it's for you to pay more money for advertising. I talked on the phone with an Amazon PPC rep recently. She gave me some good ideas, and pulled data and sent me a list of keywords. She told me to set up campaigns using those keywords, let them run for 3 weeks, and then we would talk again. 30 to 40% of those keywords were high volume, 1 or 2 word keywords, that were completely non-relevant to my product. If I had thrown those in a campaign, I would have spent $100 uselessly. I took the good ones, and rolled with it. 1 campaign she suggested I run had an average cost of sale of 120%. Which is incredibly unprofitable. I canned it after a few days, but what if I had let it run for 3 weeks like she suggested? You gotta take the good info and separate it from the not so good info. They don't know or understand your business. They don't know what people who want your business might search for, or really be needing. However, they do know how to make money off of advertising, and to do so by running people's accounts. I would never ever let Google run an ad campaign of mine. I'd much rather hire a company or person who specializes in AdWords, someone like, because their incentive is me doing well, as they get paid more if I do. You're also dealing with employees in a large company that requires 10 interviews to get in, and has months-long induction programs. Not quite the same mindset as a freelancer or an employee in a small agency that can live or die by how well they perform. Oh, and they all have to follow the Google best practices. If they give the exact same advice to every single client, then how can you get an advantage over anyone? For local lead gen, I will go longer tail and build more intricate campaigns than my competition. I'll analyze the campaigns by downloading 3 dimensions of data from the interface rather than trying to use the interface like everyone else does. I'll do what others don't think to do, think is too hard to do, or aren't able to do. It's not in Google's interest to get you the best possible performance either. Just good enough to keep you paying. Doctor? There's a conflict of interest in letting Google manage your campaigns. There's CR@P at it anyway. Andy, great stuff on this thread. Do you have a shortcut to find advertisers who are letting Google manage their campaigns? Likely wishful thinking, but I've seen some amazing tips from you on several of your threads. So, thought I'd ask. I've never even thought of looking for the ones that Google managed. I suppose just look for CR@P campaigns generally. You won't be able to tell which have been set up by Google, which have been set up by an agency or freelancer, and which have been set up internally. P.S. I currently don't get new clients by cold calling. It's either repeat business, referrals, or inbound from reading or watching or listening to some content I've put out on the interwebs. Andy Black, any recommendations for finding a website developer for a local service business with a focus on conversions? What about getting help with managing AdWords account? Right in our own neighborhood? Took me ages to find a developer who was technically able and keen to learn about local lead general. You've got to know what you want first, I think. Then kiss a few frogs. Now who could help build and manage local lead gen AdWords campaigns? Nope. Can't think of anyone. I dropped this video in another thread to show how I set goals, but I think the goals are useful for anyone reading this local lead gen thread. I thought these recorded Skype calls with, and were worth adding to this thread. This could be a game changer to local lead gen and the end of it for marketers. I've seen a few of these ads in the US. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's obvious that Google is trying to become more of a directory than a search engine. My definition of a directory is that when you click a listing you stay on the site, and for a search engine you get sent to another site. It makes sense for Google to not just index other people's content but to also house content itself, maps, the weather, flight times, etc. To me this looks like an attempt by Google to get the smaller guys onto their advertising platform, the guys who can't use AdWords. But will it not cannibalize the revenue they get from bigger players already using AdWords? I don't know, and I'm not going to try and second guess it. The only thing constant is change. We adapt and stay ahead of the curve. If there's a new lead generation environment or strategies, then whoever masters them can use that skill or knowledge to grow their own business or other businesses. Every business needs to generate leads. They either do it themselves, or get a third party to do it for them. If there are people out there who can bring a better ROI even with their fees included, then they will get hired. They probably still get hired if they can't deliver a positive ROI. TBH. No death of marketers that I can see. Google is becoming a social network. Not its G+, but actual. In fact, Their AdWords game will be dead in a matter of several years, as majority of people will use ad blockers by that time, and Google perfectly understands that, hence why all those moves in last 2 years. I don't think it's so much that it will be dead, but the game will have evolved. It's prudent for any company to diversify and invest in alternative revenue streams. Google grew by essentially monopolizing search and ad spend. They may just monopolize local lead gen next. I hear you. I just think that Google already monopolizes local lead general. All they are doing is trying out different ways how to connect consumers and providers, and different ways how to sell it to providers, and different ways how to charge for it. It will be interesting when Facebook search rivals Google search for local businesses. Me personally, I just follow the intent and eyeballs. It doesn't matter how we do it, we just have to get the right people to the right offer at the right time, aka make sales. Agreed. To jump to the conclusion that AdWords will die, that's a leap if I've ever heard of one. Until the day comes that there is a better service for practically any business to quickly scale regardless of where they stand on the totem pole, Google will remain supreme. Not saying it won't happen eventually, but within the next few years, highly unlikely. Google provides huge value to both sides of the transaction. If the paid SERPs are more relevant than the organic, it's silly to block ads, and over time end users will realize this. As for local lead gen, still viable. The issues I have personally encountered in this space is the required time and capital resources are growing, the end users are becoming more savvy, and the contractors have been burned too many times from countless fly-by-night companies. The unfortunate reality of the situation is, this industry is becoming more and more like the SEO industry, extra heavy on the upfront resources with the hope that the winds of change don't blow in the wrong direction. By the time when paid results will be more relevant than organic, displaying ads to people who just search for some topic is not by any means relevant. And that's what the majority of Google users does. Industry will already change. There will be no industry as it is now, and it's a matter of years, not even a decade. Currently Google SERP with paid output looks like trash and it can't be improved much. Google SERP itself is 10 years outdated as the industry has already changed and became spotlight oriented for the user. And there cannot be two spotlights at the same time. Furthermore, not 10 spotlights plus sidebar. Those who realize this kind of things changed the approach years ago. Big companies realized that competing with Google is relatively easy with extended user experience. Your users don't even need to leave your website to find anything, for example, so you benefit from Google but Google doesn't benefit from you that much. Service-based businesses generate incomparably more profits simply by skipping reach-focused SEO and PPC altogether, marketing directly or physically instead. My commerce business doesn't run a single PPC campaign on Google or social media. We used to do PPV on social media, but now we don't need to. Meanwhile, for majority of businesses no PPC equals no business. Good marketing is easy and not resource demanding at all. Meanwhile, bad marketing only becomes harder and more expensive with each year. Unfortunately not many are wired in a progressive way to see this. So I had a text out of the blue last week from a child physiotherapist in Dublin. She got my details from a guy years ago, who ultimately never turned into a client, but sends me a referral probably once a year. I put the ball back in her court by asking where she was based, what her catchment area was, and what she thought people might search for. I'd leave it for her to come back to me. If she didn't, then I'd not follow up. She emailed me these details within a few days, which shows me she's been thinking about this already, and that she's quite keen. I sent a short email back. I replied to acknowledge receipt of her email, both because it's good manners, and to take her off the market for a few days until I could do a bit of research and send her a report. Last night, about 4 days after our last email exchange, I spent about 20 minutes doing keyword research with the Google Keyword Planner. Search volumes were low as expected, so I didn't screenshot the Google Keyword Planner results. I did send her the screenshots below as a PowerPoint attachment last night. Here's the slides from the PowerPoint doc. She's replied saying that info you have sent looks good so far. Can you let me know if you can help set it up and also the fee involved? For me, these initial exchanges have gone reasonably well. I've now replied with a lot more detail of what could be done, and only now have given a ballpark for costs. Here's the top of that email. There's some more meat in the middle of that email, and then here's the end. Geez, all that free upfront work for such a tiny client? Yep. That's the way I roll. She likely got scared off by the price range too. Edit, if she doesn't come back within a couple of days then I'll follow up. I'd be happy doing the first month for the normal rate for a small client, and then dropping down to half that ongoing. I'm more interested in learning this new vertical. If we can make it work, then there will be child physios around the rest of Ireland and indeed the UK, US, AU, etc. who it should likely work for. Lots of ways to skin that cat if we can make it work for this one. This small client could be the start of something bigger. And I love helping the smaller guy because I can relate better, and because I think they're underserved by the agencies who can't touch them due to their overheads and costs. Edit 2. I spent probably as long writing up the post above as it took to do the report and compose the emails to her. There's a reason for that too. I want to help the guys on the forum who might want to do this, and it's to educate a few of the guys I work with so they can see what I'm doing and why. This will help us all to get better with our processes going forward. Maybe we create a standard brochure-like response? Maybe it goes on my website and I can point them to it instead of writing the emails? I won't get any feedback and ideas from the market or from my team if I don't spend the time to put it out there. Had a chat with the physio today. Her business is smaller than tiny, but there's over 3,000 chartered physios in Ireland. I've just sent a proposal that should hopefully suit her, with the lowest fees possible. I'm more interested in whether we can make this work for her and then roll out to other physios in other locations. I forgot to update this. Even that smaller proposal was too high for her. With red flags waving, I still came up with a way for her to pay my developer, designer, and work experience guy. She's delighted, and they're delighted. The landing page is almost complete. Campaigns will likely be built this week. What do I get out of it if I'm not taking any payment? This video should help if you're using or thinking of using AdWords for local lead gen especially. Hi there Andy. Thank you very much for starting this thread and for spreading your ideas. It's great information and all actionable. I do have one question. I am new to AdWords and was exploring a bit, and noticed that you can pay per call now. Would you recommend this method depending on the business of course, seeing that it eliminates the conversions that are often lost in a traditional squeeze page? Thanks. Thanks for your kind words. You mean using a call extension so that people on a mobile can click the call button in the ad and call without visiting the landing page? Sure, we use them for businesses that want phone calls, pretty much all out clients at the moment. I wouldn't have it so that someone clicking the ad headline on a mobile is shown the phone number and doesn't get to the landing page. Firstly, it isn't what people expect when they click an ad headline. Secondly, my highly relevant ad headline is replaced with a call number headline, which defeats the purpose of me crafting a highly relevant ad headline to entice the click in the first place. I'm not sure where a squeeze page comes into it. Check out video in thread local lead gen simplified. When you're searching for a local service business by location, you probably want to ring them or send them a message. Hope that helped. I've dropped some videos here. I'd like to thank Andy for the amazing material he posted on AdWords over the years. A month ago, I sat down for 6 days and went through his posts 1 to 35 here, at 3 to 4 hours a day. I read slow. I now run AdWords for 2 local clients, and a third very soon. 90% of my ads are in the top 3 position with awesome imp share. In a city of 1.2 million people, the local lead gen market is still ripe for the picking in January 2017. Most of the local businesses don't know what they're doing. A new client of mine was throwing $1,500 a month at AdWords without being able to measure results, nor knowing what's going on. Thanks Andy for the knowledge. Whoa. 6 days at 3 to 4 hours a day is like 18 to 24 hours to go through my AdWords threads. Glad it helped, and well done taking action and getting a couple of local clients. Oh boy. This is so true. Do a search for service location for a big city near you. Check the ads to see if they echo back both the service and the location. Check the landing pages to see if they match the ad. Can you find any that have a good search term? Greater than ad, greater than landing page? With my newfound screencasting skills, I'll do some videos and drop them in here. It's so bad out there. The blind really are leading the blind, and the one-eyed man can clean up. Do paid search right, and it's like 21st century weaponry against poor mom-pop brandishing rolling pins. Andy, firstly, thanks for all the info you have shared here. It's a goldmine of knowledge. Are there any AdWords courses available that you would recommend, other than by Google? I am also going to try and get some work experience with an agency to get some real-world knowledge. This looks like a real opportunity to get involved in local and at the same time help small business. You're welcome, and thanks for your first post. Do you want to learn AdWords to get into an agency, or to help businesses generate more sales? I've never worked for an agency, although have been headhunted a few times by agencies in Dublin. An agency may want you to be Google certified so they can tell prospects you're certified when they're pitching. And so they can have the Google certified badge on their website. In which case, the Google training may be helpful. I've not been through their online training, although had the misfortune of sitting through day 1 of their certification bootcamp. It was excruciating, and downright wrong in places. Here's my personal opinion on Google certification. I think working in an agency for a little while would definitely have its benefits. I took a couple of jobs when I wanted to upskill into AdWords and keep paying the mortgage, although went client side rather than agency side. I mention it here. I didn't get those jobs because I was book learned though. I'd already started and had a few small local clients. My first was someone I knew who needed more work. As described here, the first book I read was Perry Marshall's, but that was after I had campaigns running. It's a good book. My personal recommendation would be to not have a goal to learn AdWords, but to have a goal to help someone. As mentioned in this thread, I believe it will take 18+ hours to go through my posts here, and if you're going to take action on it, then I'd recommend the course I dropped into the marketplace here. Wow Andy, many thanks for such a detailed and speedy reply. I would much rather help businesses with more sales than work in an agency. I was looking at agency work more as a means to an end to learn the ins and outs of working with AdWords in a real-world situations. Maybe I'm approaching it in the wrong way, and it would be far more useful to work with a real business. I just didn't want to use a business as a guinea pig whilst trying to figure out how AdWords worked, as it's real money they would spending, and I know many folks have been badly burnt not really knowing what they are doing. I understand AdWords do have vouchers on occasions to use, but I did read something a while ago that some registered charities can apply and receive a free AdWords spend per month from Google if they meet certain requirements. This would be an excellent way to learn the ropes whilst helping a good cause without risking anyone's money. If this is still true, I will investigate this week. I have just listened to The Biggest Reason Websites Suck, and it was very informative. I'm going to head over to now and start digesting. Once again, thanks for the info, greatly appreciated Ashley. Hey. Tangential question here on marketing your services. I really like this AdWords thing. It seems like a perfectly mathematical way to go about doing business, and I feel like there's a great opportunity to help a lot of small businesses here. Say I'm trying to get myself listed as a local AdWords expert. I want to get enough customers to pay for Andy's course out of my own profit. How do I go about running a modified broad match test for local keywords? Would I do plus AdWords plus expert plus Dallas in its own campaign? Should I have plus AdWords plus Dallas in a separate campaign? Or one campaign for both? 1. You're mixing your match types up a bit. Square brackets is exact match, AdWords expert Dallas plus is modified broad match type : plus AdWords plus expert plus Dallas. I don't know what would happen if you wrote it as you had : plus AdWords plus expert plus Dallas. I guess Google would use the square brackets and see the pluses as some sort of punctuation and ignore them. It's a guess though. 2. Your keywords are cannibalizing each other. They could both show for someone who types in AdWords consultant Dallas. No real biggie, but I prefer to force traffic to the right keyword and ad. That way I can show a better ad. 3. My favorite business quote is from Mother Teresa: never worry about numbers. Help one person at a time, and always start with the person closest to you. Listen to the call I have with Paloma, call 16 in the thread listing all my calls with fellow forum members. Linked in my signature. Start with the people closest to you. Family members, friends, etc. Also listen to the first radio interview linked in my signature. Do you really want to learn AdWords by running AdWords campaigns head-to-head against other AdWords specialists? BTW. I think they're probably as bad at it as a lot of non-AdWords specialists, so maybe it won't be that hard. I've never tried it tbh. 4. I understand the cost of the course could be high for some people, even though I think the value for money is exceedingly high. Would a payment plan help? I might have a look at that, although I think I have to pay a higher monthly fee to think if it to have payment plans. Great tips. Thanks as always. 1. Oops. Thanks 2. I understand exact match is optimal. I meant when I'm testing for impressions, how I could do so most effectively. However, I feel like a single campaign for plus AdWords plus consultant plus Dallas would yield good results. 3. We'll definitely check these out. And I'm reaching out to Amy friends with businesses already, offering them impression research at cost for the experience. 4. Honestly, I think the course is very generously priced as is, especially with the discount for forum insiders. It's only difficult right now as I'm between jobs moving into the city. I wouldn't mind dropping $100 and getting a bit of content, the rest on full payment. But if that's the case, I'll just sign up for Insider and enjoy the discount later. My default is to start with modified broad, with a few words in the keyword, so not plus London or something dumb like that. Spend some time learning other local lead gen strategies beyond AdWords as well. Average AdWords ad spend for small local service business, i.e. business owner and less than 5 employees, is less than $1,000. That's not an exact figure, but it's what I've come across. Plus, depending on the market you're in, there's only so many searches being performed each month for specific industry keywords. For any one market, you can only take on one client in a specific industry before it becomes a conflict of interest. Meaning if you have 2 lawn care companies in the same market, your clients are competing against one another, driving up costs. Another big platform that most people don't have the time to monitor properly is Thumbtack. I have someone who works full-time and her only job is bidding Thumbtack jobs and doing a 5-day follow-up sequence with every bid we submit. You can train a VA to do this for any business you bring on board. It'll be a value-added service you offer that nobody else is doing, at least from what I've found. One VA can easily manage multiple accounts. To learn AdWords, create a simple landing page from lead pages, or unbounce. Make sure you have all the key elements necessary for a quality local service landing page. Drive traffic to this using AdWords, but don't put any branding on the page. Just a place to enter a client's name, contact info, and message box for what the client needs. When a lead comes in, call around and find someone to do the job. For lawn care, call the lawn care service in your area highly rated on Yelp and say you have someone that needs lawn care. Here's the contact info. You send that business 2 or 3 free referrals and they'll want to be your best friend. At that point you can offer to send them jobs exclusively for a fee. Also, spend time on forums and Facebook groups where local service business owners hang out. Offer your services for free for 5 to 10 clients as you fine-tune your process. Or simply offer to do an analysis of their current online marketing strategy for free. Then, ask them to publicly leave you a review on the forum once you're done. You will have to get your name out there as a valuable resource before you can claim to be an expert and charge money for your service. Great post. Thanks. Focus on one vertical and scale by going to other locations so you're not competing with your current clients. Lots of ways to do this for the same location and vertical too. Thumbtack AdWords campaigns and landing pages suck. So easy to beat. But they're doing pretty good anyway. Shows how wide open local lead gen is. IMO, start with AdWords and branch out to other channels, especially if it's your own domain. They definitely suck, but for some insane reason, they get the phone to ring. Definitely not a long-term option as it's got a limited lifespan as the space improves. It's so fragmented currently that cheap stuff like that works. Use this to one's advantage now, but build the real valuable assets around that as things improve. Great way to get started on the cheap. Have you had any success or experience with the click-to-text ad extensions for local businesses? If so, what trends have you noticed in the center? I've set them up for a few clients but completely forgot to check them tbh. Hey Andy, so I just finished an AdWords course and I was searching terms like hot water heater repair Ottawa to see who was competing for AdWords and how I could try and beat them. For almost every term I searched was in the AdWords results. It's funny because I've actually been on their site multiple times, but it wasn't until learning about lead gen that I now realize it's a massive lead gen site. They definitely have big pockets and have already amassed a big database of businesses with reviews etc. If you had a big site like this to compete with for AdWords in the UK, would it worry you? Or am I just being paranoid? Just because they're big, doesn't mean they exist without flaws. At least one of my early clients has mentioned flaws in their system. Work it to your advantage. Nike owns 80% of the sneaker market, should Adidas call it quits? What he said. You can compete with people with big budgets by being better. Mind you, there's so many local service verticals wide open that I'd rather not pick hotels and go up against. I've read on here the need to build a sort of landing page, send traffic to it via AdWords, and then maybe give away a few free leads to a local business in order to gain their trust and ultimately sell future leads. Many of the AdWords CPC I find are around $8, $10 plus for keywords such as service plus location. Tree trimming Kansas City is $8.85 for example. Even if I can get 5% of people to enter their contact info, 100 clicks would be somewhere around $900 for those 5 leads. Am I thinking about this the correct way or am I missing something? If 100% of my traffic comes from AdWords at the beginning, it seems like the cost could add up very quickly. Firstly, if you're getting that data from the keyword planner, then those estimated bid prices, not CPCs, are for top ad positions, and should be taken with a pinch of salt. Secondly, the ideal way to get your first few clients is through people you already know. Spend your time and money on diesel and coffee first. This is what no one talks about. Conversion rates for service-based local businesses that are spending $5 to $10 per click and converting at 5%, which is actually above average, Unless you're thinking in terms of lifetime value of a customer, most business are paying well over $100 on average for a confirmed sale or new customer, way more for competitive segments like plumbing in bigger cities. It's discouraging to say the least. In your example, you get 5 leads, but how many of those leads turn into a paying customer? Maybe 2 or 3 at best. When dialed in, I've had some service-based businesses converting visitors into inquiries at nearly 40% some weeks. Just last week for one client, 36 clicks, 14 phone calls, 10 sales ads were paused on Wednesday too. These results are not typical. There's definitely still plenty of potential with AdWords, but for the majority of people paying for AdWords with less than stellar management or knowledge of the platform, depending on industry of course, they're paying more than they probably realize for customers in most cases. I manage AdWords for clients and it's mind-boggling how many of them spend thousands a month and really have no idea what is going on, and maybe glance at the reporting. Sent from my iPhone using TaperTalk, I have a newish post on the thread linked to my SIG about conf rates at 5 to 8% for pretty much anyone setting up AdWords and going up to 18 to 25% if you are doing things right. I even mention people I know hitting 50%, but they are dialed in and doing it with warm and semi-warm leads. I also agree with you on the clients spending $1,000 a month and not knowing what's going and having just anything run for months or years in their account. It's a shame really, but it's what also keeps me in business too. I'm sorry, but I feel this is an awful approach. Think about this for a second. You have a massive competitor in your market and they have a huge following on FB, IG, Twitter, etc. Many of their customers are repeat customers. So, you use their service and try to find flaws, gaps, ways to compete against them. Now you're all set to go with your site and your business. You're ready for your first sale. What's your first move? I am hoping it isn't paid ads. Why? Don't you think it might be wise to target your competitors' followers on social media for free? They're targeted. They are already spending money in the market, and you're ready to win them over. Hope this helps. Hey Andy, I have created a landing page and set up an AdWords campaign for a local niche in the hope of selling the leads to a local provider. Should I put a phone number on the landing page? I was thinking either my mobile number or a number of a local provider. I can then see if I generate any phone calls. If so, I can call up the provider and say I have generated you X number of calls. What would you recommend, either my mobile number, a local service provider's phone number, or use Callfire and divert the phone calls to a service provider's phone and I can listen to the calls? Appreciate any advice. Personally, I'd take the calls myself and learn more about the consumer and their problem, then become their champion and find suitable businesses for them. Note that I've only done this a couple of times myself, but noticed how much more involved I became in the process when I actually spoke to someone who had a need. My thinking is, speak to the consumers. Speak to the business owners. Realize they're humans. Learn more about what they want. Go out of your way to help them. Good things happen. I think it's super important to realize that, although we're advertising online, we're dealing with people, not clicks, and that we're not making money just shuffling electrons around. I'll be doing this in earnest from next week or the week after and will report back on findings. Thanks Sandy. I have added my mobile number to my landing page, as a call extension and a message extensions. I have messaged you my landing page. Would you be able to give me your feedback, and if I have the right elements on there, would really appreciate it. Hey Andy, I've managed to generate 2 leads in my first week of doing this now, £8.60 cost per lead. I've emailed 2 businesses who can fulfill these leads and said would they be interested in leads on a cost per lead basis, was thinking £20 or a fixed monthly fee, and told them they can have their first lead free today. What do you think? How should I price this up? Your advice is appreciated. What they pay will be down the value they put on the leads, not how much you paid to generate them. Ring them up if you can. The leads will go cold, and you want to build a relationship with the business so you can find out more about the industry and the value you're providing. Thanks, Andy. I called some companies. Fingers crossed. Hey Andy, after calling many companies and getting a lot of no's by the gatekeepers and going around in circles, I finally have someone who wants to buy my leads. I suggested cost per lead. He said a fixed monthly fee would be good and he wants to be my exclusive partner. I'm thinking of starting the first month at £5 per lead. I will get him at least 12 leads per day. It will be costing me £15 per day to generate these leads. Then after the first month look at the volume and agree on a fixed monthly fee. How do I protect myself in regards to payment, i.e. I give him leads for the month and then he doesn't pay? Should I charge weekly for the first month? Appreciate any advice you may have, Andy. Well done getting to a yes. Lots of ways of doing it. Get him to pay in advance. I get paid in advance for monthly work I do. I'm curious. Why does he prefer flat monthly fee? Why do you prefer pay per lead? Who pays the ad spend? Who owns the campaigns? Who owns the landing pages? What do you define as a lead? What does he define as a lead? How will you agree a lead is genuine? How will you deal with leads that he disputes? Thanks, Andy. Reason I was thinking pay per lead for the first month is I don't know the exact volume. If I charge a fixed fee, the fee will be large starting off. If I do it per lead, I can tweak as I go along, i.e. offer a fixed fee once I have enough performance data. I pay the ad spend and own the campaigns and landing pages. We have agreed on what a lead is, certain criteria consisting of 4 parts. I'll give him each lead and play it by ear. If he disputes a lot of leads I can bring it up with him or stop sending him leads. Ideally I would generate my own leads for my own business. I have tried generating leads for 3 different niches to learn and improve my AdWords skills and generated leads no problem. The hard part is finding a niche for my own business where I can provide the service, i.e. local service business. Thanks, Andy. I'm sure you're aware of the Google Home Services expanded rollout. How do you think it is going to affect your local lead generation business? For those that aren't familiar, here's a good overview. That title is a bit old. Google has expanded the service both geographically and open to other industries. I don't know much about Google Home Services. Will it reduce their revenue from ads? Will it create a demand for Google Home Services consultants? I'll keep doing what I'm doing. There's so many verticals that are wide open. Thought I'd show the above the fold for a landing page we created for a client. Good, things are starting to make sense now. Must sleep. Want to learn. Just wanted to throw this quick tip in here. Not sure if there's a better place for it, so please say if you think other people would benefit elsewhere. If you are running any form of paid advertising or have any website you rely on, then the last thing you want to do is lose money from your website being down. In the last few years I've used multiple hosts, some good, some bad. But if there's one common denominator it's that, and when it happens you can almost guarantee that it won't be the hosting company telling you. It will be your client, customers, or worst of all nobody. Hosting companies tend not to tell you when your website goes down, messed up, but true unfortunately. If it does happen then chances are you will, and in some cases, and perhaps even I've had a website go offline for 10 days in the past before until I realized. Now I am far older and wiser. I make sure as soon as my website goes down I know about it, and thankfully there's a free tool that can tell you, which I can recommend. As I said, you can join for free, and submit your domains in there. It monitors your website every 5 minutes, and as soon as one is down you get an email. You then receive an email when it's back online. This was super helpful. Man, the contributions you have made to this forum has been super duper helpful. I doff my hat. What gets me stuck so far has been, wait for it, landing page. None I try out seem to be tailor-made to what we are trying to do here. Can you point me to some solution for a landing page dedicated to a local lead gen? And probably can you show me some examples of the ones you have built? Thanks for your kind words. Delighted to help. We couldn't find any decent landing page builders, so are building our own. An example of one built for a client is a few posts above actually. Rep plus yep. Sites going down is a right Royal Peter. We implemented our own solution, but this might be a better route. If you had to pick one landing page builder, as I can't code my own builder, which would you suggest? Probably Thrive Themes WordPress. I bought it last month for side projects that I'd create landing pages for. I've not used it yet, but that was on recommendation from someone who's used a lot of builders. I don't know about tap to call buttons etc. I presume they'd be easy enough to do. Thanks Andy. I will purchase this, Andy. To create a tap to call button is as simple as creating a link to the number as a URL. It works really well for me. Hi Andy, quick question. I have set up a local campaign. Is this the way to go in terms of keywords, service, city set as modified broad and exact match, I.E plus cleaning plus Swansea and cleaning Swansea, or should I have the city first then service, plus Swansea plus cleaning and Swansea cleaning? For exact match the order of the words used to matter, except I'm now seeing exact match keywords pick up search terms with the word order reversed, which annoys the feck out of me. For modified broad match, the order doesn't matter. I often just start with one match type. Most often just modified broad match. Make sure to add the usual negatives of jobs, courses, certifications, salaries, etc. Tip. Separate the match types into different campaigns. Have a campaign for exact match keywords, and one for modified broad match keywords. Have the exact matches as campaign negatives in the modified broad match campaign. Listen to the recorded call with for other advanced structure tips. P.S. Most people search for the what and then the where. Cleaners Swansea? I think it's the yellow pages that start is to search that way. Thanks for this Andy. I will pause the exact match keywords and just start with modified broad match. I'll listen to this podcast now. Strange first post for someone who joined nearly a year ago. Do you think it reads like a typical forum post? Tip. With change comes opportunity. This could be seen as a threat, or an opportunity. I prefer to look for the opportunities. According to what I learned from you Andy, the company which wants to get most clicks should name itself Phoenix Plumber or Atlanta Electrician and not as it is in the image above. Thanks Andy for sharing. I have decided to test this method and made a website for SBA massage with the domain of my city example massage.my. It's some kind of side project and my goal is to rent out these websites for monthly fees. From seeing how users behave on the landing page Hotjar, it seems nicely designed website with phone number is not enough. I am probably missing the main element on my site which will make the conversion or lead. My copywriting skills sucks at the moment. We'll take some courses on this topic and then do some more testing. We'll keep you guys updated how it goes. I don't know if you referred to this website as of March 3rd, but thing that Andy always suggests is to give people what they want. In lead gen website if they search for Thai massage, they have to have ad with Thai massage in title, then the site with Thai massage in headline. I think that phone number should be above the fold too, so people wouldn't have to scroll for it. Your site seems to have enter a world of well-being as a headline and phone number is at the bottom. The last thing is that maybe your keywords or audience are too general, that is people searching for general info about Thai massage and not the Thai massage service. Thanks for the reply. I tried putting the number in the headline. No difference in conversion or behavior. In both cases, They go through the site carefully reading the text. This is what I see from visitors' recordings. Since I am not the only one in the top of the Google search, I think that people view all the other options and make the decision based on which site gives them the best feeling, and not only if they see phone number maybe in some other business like plumber they do. This is why I hired copywriter to make some tests the conversion with good copy. The problem I have with keywords is that I can target exact match, massage my city name. Since there is not enough monthly searches in Keyword Planner, it says 100 to 1000 per month, so I must go with the broad term phrase match massage my city name and also have geolocation set up only to my region. Use modified broad keyword plus massage plus location. You can geo-target a larger location if you ensure a location is in the search term. Someone in New York might look for massage Scottsdale. If there's only one Scottsdale in the US, then you'd want that visitor. I see at least they read it, which is good. I just revisited your website to check for one well-known trick. The website doesn't have email capture. My reasoning is that if they read it, then, as you said, they're in info gathering mode. So give them something in exchange for their email. Like short PDF about massage in general or quick guide on how to choose Thai massage service. There is so much gold, not only in the post itself, but the rabbit hole of links. Just what I needed as I ponder the current online changes occurring, including and, of course, more. Would love to chat with you, one of these days. Thank you. Oh, when did that happen? Interesting. Yep. Change your title to be something clear and just connect with loads of people. Anyone who needs a freelance AdWords consultant will check out your profile before or as they accept the connection request, and may well PM you. Whatever is proclaimed as dead ends up not being flavor of the month. So while the herd chase is flavor of the month, we can go the other way. I prefer to be contrarian and not follow the herd. There's much less BS and arseholes that way. Haha. Sure. Do all your pondering first, make some moves, and then let's have a chat. Maybe we can drop it in here? A few months ago, it was weeded out much of spam and scammy post. Best thing to happen to the site IMO. One question: how do I handle clients in the same niche? If I rent one landing page to a plumber for a monthly fee, creating a second landing page for another plumber would be direct competition. Is there a way around it? I only take on one Google Ads client per city. If it's just landing pages for the customer, then I don't think it matters so much. It's like Unbounce not caring if their customers compete with each other. Thank you for your reply. So if you're doing AdWords for the client's website, you only take one client per niche per city? What about niches in the niche like specific lawyers, doctors, etc.? And what do you prefer, doing AdWords for the client's website or for your landing page for the client? Why? Now I think about it, I do have one plumber doing emergency plumbing in Dublin, and another doing boiler replacements in Dublin. If the client has a website, we send visitors to that. If the data then shows that the landing pages aren't a good match for the search terms and ads, then we suggest we create a landing page for them. I'd love it if we always sent visitors to one of our landing pages, because client sites are often slow, poor at converting visitors to inquirers, and don't have various functionality we think helps. Hi Andy, after going through quite a few of your posts or threads on this forum, as I've just realized that you're the AdWords guy in here. I've got a feeling my Christmas holidays will be spent going through all of your 8K posts and making notes. Wanted to say a huge thank you for all the tons of invaluable content that you're putting out in here, which is not just information about AdWords, but it's actionable, because you show everyone how you do it yourself, not something that you come across often online. I say AdWords despite the fact it's Google Ads now, because I run my first ads back in 2007, when the whole PPC game was just taking off. I came across it from the affiliate marketing side and used to bid 5 cents, which was good enough back then to get decent traffic. Since then my focus shifted from PPC to building blogs and doing SEO, then making info products to running ads on Bing and just recently e-commerce. But after reading your posts on local service lead gen, it seems like this is what I should have done long time ago. I've already posted some questions in where I questioned the whole idea of running ads for local service keywords, where you only get a few clicks per day. Initially, it feels like a waste of time, because you are hardly getting any traffic. I'm only now starting to understand the real value of those clicks for local businesses, where even if you spend £10 to 15 on a click, that click could turn into a phone call and generate £100 or £200 or sale. As you can imagine, I'm coming from an affiliate background, where I would normally bid on something like how to lose belly fat, get 100 clicks to my review landing page of the info product, then probably around 50% will click through to the main sales page and I'll be lucky if 1% actually bought the product. Needless to say, the local service lead gen is probably more like, you get 5 clicks to your landing page, 3 people make a call and 2 result in a sale. Of course, it'll be different from service to service, but you get my point. This post is getting a bit too long, but I guess I'm trying to describe how a lot of people who are coming here from the other side of AdWords can look at this business model and think it's a waste of time due to very low volumes and expensive keywords. How would you compare doing AdWords for local service lead gen versus creating and optimizing a website for the sole purpose of getting ranked in organic results? You could argue that once ranked by doing SEO, then all the traffic to your website is free, but then from my experience, organic SERPs can be very unstable, and also you have to bear in mind that you are below all the ads and the local 3-pack, even when ranked number 1, so your traffic is going to be minuscule for local service keywords. On the other hand, while AdWords does cost money, but you get instant traffic, you control keywords or ads, and unless you do something really stupid, as long as you're paying, your ads won't suddenly disappear from the results, because of another panda or penguin or whatever Google algorithm update. I have a good understanding of what goes into building an effective AdWords campaign, or at least I like to think so, as well as building a good landing page. The time will tell, but I have no experience of selling or referring leads. So my idea of doing this is to build a non-branded landing page for a local business: window cleaning area X, carpet cleaning area Y, making it look relevant to the search terms, professional with all the necessary headlines or bullet points, etc. Put a call rail or a similar service call number, which will then refer the calls to a local service provider, a person or company fulfilling the job. I will choose the local service provider myself by finding them in Google and doing basic research, making sure they are a good company, been in business for X years and generally have a good reputation, etc. Once done, I will just use their contact number in CallRail to generate the tracked contact number for my landing page. Then I will run the AdWords campaign for X amount of clicks, depending on the cost, and refer the leads to them totally free of charge. Meanwhile, I'll be listening to the calls in CallRail to see if those calls actually turn into a business. If they do, I will then call the service provider and have a chat, saying that I referred John, Michael and Barry to you, and can keep on doing this for X fee or month, if you are interested. Of course, the pitch can be tweaked, but I'm describing the method in general, i.e. refer leads, generate business, then offer your help for a monthly fee. I could also use a whisper message with CallRail to maybe mention my website, so later when I get in touch with the business owner, then he or she will know who I am once I've mentioned the website. But these are all minor details. Would be great to hear your thoughts on the above 2 points and if I'm processing this the right way. Appreciate what you do on this forum and all your help. Thanks, Stefan. I'm gonna be trying this out soon too. I've tested it in the past and my only concerns are the biz owner either not hearing the message or B thinking it's spam cause of the robotic voice. Could be a very powerful lead gen tactic. Well, To be honest, it's not really needed, because you could just go through the calls that you referred to the business owner and call Rail or whatever call tracking service you've got set up, and then use the information from there to identify yourself as the person who sent those customers. That would be things like customer's name or location or the specific type of service they required, etc. You could also try to get in touch with the business owner in advance and tell him that this is what you're planning to do, i.e. there will be a whisper message for every customer you refer. But I think you might sound like a weirdo while explaining all this. You will probably be in a much better position to explain yourself in the earlier example, because you will come across as someone who's already provided real value for free and want to know if you can help further, but for a reasonable monthly fee. I know you're a busy man, but I would really appreciate if you could dig holes in my thinking above number 160 and guide me with my two main questions. Thanks. Thanks for your kind words. 1. I don't do SEO, but tell people that the Google Ads campaign will collect data about search terms, their search volume, CPCs, etc. From there people can decide what search terms are worth ranking for. 2 sounds good, albeit maybe a bit complicated to start. Most of the time I'm hired by a service provider to generate them leads or try to. When I generate leads first, then I prefer to have someone answer the phone. I've not done it that way round very often because I'm too busy with client work, but the phone calls are great, both answering the service seeker and trying to find a service provider. Have you listened to this? Possible value add. Offer an in-house call center to answer the phone calls and book service for the client. Great post. Thanks Andy, we'll check out that recording. If I'm not wrong, you started doing this for your clients since 2015. So it will soon be 5 years that you're doing local service lead gen. Has your method or strategy changed much during this time? If so, then how and have you managed to scale this business in a way that you're financially satisfied versus the time you spend every day dealing with clients or managing campaigns? How do you deal with bots or people who click on ads just to drive up your ad spend with no intention of purchasing? Doesn't Google try to mitigate that? I would think so, since integrity of the platform world affect their revenues. Yep. The effort needed to generate fake clicks that are hard to detect will be way too high for your average competitor of a local biz. Nothing you should worry about too much. Also, Google allows you to block specific IP addresses if you suspect a competitor is trying to run up your ad spend. Hi Andy, wondering if you had a chance to have a look at my post number 167? I run a Google Ads campaign this week to test the volume of local keywords for a home service and noticed two things: 1. I expanded my initial target local area to include almost 20 surrounding areas 1 meter plus population, because I barely got 2 clicks for my original location. However, the added locations hardly made any difference, as my best day was 5 clicks. In the last 7 days, I received 11 clicks, 227 impressions with 4.85% center. How is it possible to work with this kind of volume? 2. While hardly getting any traffic is one issue, but then the cost of the clicks is also a killer. I initially set my max bids at $10 or click, which is a lot as it is, but after that decided to make use of Google's maximum clicks feature without a limit on bids to see if I could get more traffic. It was a stupid decision anyway and hardly made any difference to the volume, as it got me a few ridiculously expensive clicks at $22 and $26 each, while the average CPC is at $9.87. Mind you, this was for a quite simple home service, where the sale value won't be a lot, compared to more expensive services such as dentists and plumbers. So I struggled to see how my local window cleaner or gardener would cover my Google Ads costs, plus my management fee of X a month. I know there are quite a few variables that can make a difference to the above numbers, such as type of service, location and campaign structure, but the overall picture doesn't look too exciting to me. Hence the reason why I asked in my reply number 167, if you still do this today, possibly with a few tweaks? Thanks for your input. Hi, I've put this into my calendar to reply to. Hey Andy, we spoke recently on FB quite a while ago. Great thread as always. I agree with you on LinkedIn not allowing us to target on intent versus demographic. It's quite a pain, but it still works. I've just started marketing on LinkedIn. I get about 5k impressions and 13 clicks. I'm pretty new to marketing, so I'm not sure how good or bad these metrics are. I feel they're quite bad. But overall LinkedIn is my favorite way of getting new leads inbound and outbound, because the prospects seem to always be ready to invest in anything that can genuinely improve their productivity or save time. I was going to make a separate thread about this, but I use tools like to quickly hit my personal sales or prospecting targets. With QuickList, I literally spend 5 minutes building my contact lists. Simple tool and use case, but if you saw my sales forecasts and pipeline you'd cry ha ha ha. Let me try and work my way through the latest questions. It will take a few evenings, I think. When someone says they want to rank for something via SEO, I ask, rank for what? Personally, I'd rather start with paid search because I can learn much faster for my clients. They can give me a list of services, a list of locations. I can do a bit of keyword research, and then load hundreds or thousands of service location combinations and see what the demand and supply is like. We can buy data quickly and cheaply. And if the data says there's not enough search volumes, we can fail fast. If there's search volumes, we then get data about click volumes, CPCs, CPAs, etc. If they're not good enough, we can pull the plug. If it goes well, or there is some other business case based on the real-life data we've collected, then we can give the client data about search terms so they can decide which are worth getting ranked for SEO-wise. I'd rather have my Google Ads skills than SEO skills. Edit, do. Looks like I already answered that one. Oh well, I just added some more flesh to my answer. I started local lead gen in 2009, so it's been 10 years now. I did get a couple of Google Ads jobs to reskill, but was back working for myself after a couple of years or so. Mobile is super important now. So much so that we often have to design a mobile landing page for clients because their website doesn't cut it. I don't just mean that it's responsive. I mean designed for mobile users, fast, simple to use, with tap-to-call buttons and simple form fills or chatbots or pseudo-chatbots. The basics are the same. Get the search term to appear in the ad, and the landing page. The high-level strategy is the same. Get ads to show, then count impressions, then buy data about clicks, then about conversions. Try to get profitable quick. Iterate to get profitable, and ideally fail fast. If not, ads have got way bigger over time. Side ads have disappeared. New ad extensions make top ads so big they almost push all organic results below the fold. The trick is to make full use of all available extensions and get one over on the competitors who don't. After making sure you're bidding on the right keywords, in the right match type, and with the right account structure. Google has been very sneaky by changing the precision of match types over the years. We have to watch our search terms for CRP showing up. It can be very frustrating, and I trust Google less and less each week. Am I happy with my business? I love it. I focused on family for the last decade, what with having 3 small boys, losing my brother, and then losing my dad. My business has given me the freedom to spend a lot of time with them, while rubbing shoulders with business owners, and learning many different business models. I still have local lead gen clients, and have up pushing back on e-commerce clients. Google Shopping can work a treat, although I prefer creating and optimizing standard paid search campaigns. There's so many options available now that weren't when I started 10 years ago. Remarketing can work amazing. We're just getting into YouTube ads. We're looking more at display ads too, given I've now got a graphic designer in-house. I've a few contractors working with me now. I'm also seeing more clients coming through who are selling courses, which is fascinating for me as I also have a course I've been meaning to sell more of. There's definitely occasions where we can't get campaigns to work. Sometimes volumes are too low, and/or CPCs are too high. But my goal was always to find soft underbellies and attack there. As mentioned above, the business has kept me going while I had to attend to lots of other things. I switched from being an IT contractor with one client where I went on site each day, to having 20+ clients who pay monthly and where I don't go on site or have to sit through CR@P meetings. My revenue is about the same, but how it's earned is so very different. I not only have consulting clients, but we're starting to build productized lead gen services in various industries. We're starting to build directories, rent out landing page like lead pages or Unbounce do, and build a plugin. I also have a course and a paid email newsletter that I'll scale and can then tackle other subjects where I'm not the subject matter expert. I'm very grateful for what my business has allowed me to do in the past decade, and I'm excited about the possibilities for the next decade. Yes, this can happen. Sometimes volumes aren't high enough and/or CPCs aren't low enough. Sometimes it's a case of grinding it out. Often it's a case of giving it a bullet sooner rather than later. If I'm running these campaigns for a client, I feel so bad if I can't dial it in. I understand it's not just my time and effort being spent trying to dial it in, but also their money and time. I'll often help out with costs when we pull the cord. Then other times the client gets a load of inquiries immediately and is delighted. And then there's the bread and butter ones we have to grind out. Thanks for coming back to me, Andy. I've listened to your conversation with Contrarian about local lead gen business, and I remember there was a point where you discussed the suitability of generating leads using this model for certain types of businesses. For example, you mentioned that it probably won't work for dentists or solicitors or estate agents, where you would need more than just a simple landing page matching your ad title to capture a lead. As with such services, a lot more research goes into making a decision due to higher costs, and generally it's a different kind of a buyer. My point is, would you say that the model you describe is more suitable for trades types of businesses, such as what you would find on, say, here? Greater than these types of services don't generally require fancy landing pages, and as long as it's decent looking and more importantly relevant, then it should all be good, correct? As for finding keywords with enough search volume and figuring out an acceptable CPC for the client, I'm assuming it's just a simple trial and error until you get it right. Do you cap your bids and let Google get you the max possible clicks for your daily budget? And regarding landing pages, I'm thinking of simple HTML landers, as I don't fancy bothering with WordPress. What's your experience? What I meant was that a simple ugly landing page works better for trades than for dentists, solicitors, or estate agents. People expect a tradesman's website to look a bit simple and garish. I'd actually say the model is harder to make work for the usual trades, because so many people are trying to do it for them. If you were to scan through the local yellow pages and look at all the categories, you'll find a lot of different types of businesses that could be easier. We rebuild until we either get it working, or call it a day. We start with a blanket bid price for all keywords in the account, so we're then comparing apples with apples when we look at the data for each keyword. We can run these data gathering campaigns on $5 or day or $10 or day. You're right about the competition in certain trades, but then you can't really go too soft digging into micro trades to avoid competition, because smaller trades will have even less search volume. That's considering that more competitive services have very low volume as it is anyway. I think I need to make a move on this with a landing page and a call tracking service to see what I can do. Do you use a template for landing pages or check out the competition to see what they are doing? A few pointers regarding the landing page would be useful. as I've done various landing pages in the past, but not for a local business. Things like structure, images, number of pages, content, etc. And would CallRail be suitable for this model? So basically, I want to have a local number from CallRail that would redirect the calls to the service provider's number and also record the call, so then I could listen to it and come back to the owner after referring him or her a few leads. Here's an example of the first iteration of a mobile landing page that went live last week and got a sale already. No other pages on the site other than privacy terms, disclaimer. I've not used CallRail on client landing pages, although other agencies I subcontract to sometimes do for their clients. Why have I not? I want the client to tell me how things are going. I'm not going to listen to their calls. Thanks for the example landing page, Andy. That gives me an idea of what to aim for. I'll check out that lead gen simplified thread as well. As for CallRail, I meant that it would be useful for tracking purposes, to know how many calls you're referring to your client per day or week or month, and in case if the client queried anything, you could always pull up the list of referred calls, as kind of proof of customers that you're sending to him or her. With regards to listening to calls, I would only do it prior to contacting the client to offer my ongoing service, such as what I mentioned earlier, i.e. generate traffic to my own landing page, refer leads via calls to my potential client, then call up the client and say you've sent a few free customers. This is where you will use CallRail's recordings to describe referred customers, and assuming at least some of them turned into sales, you'll hopefully have a client who would like to continue with what you're doing. But now for a monthly fee plus AdWords costs. Now before I start asking you questions about how to price up my service and how to take payments, let me get the landing page made, receive some traffic, generate calls, and I'll come back to you with the results. One last thing regarding CPC, how would you know that it's a bit too high for whatever service that you're testing and that the client won't be able to afford the advertising plus your monthly fee? Is it a case of experimenting with a few clients and then make a decision based on their feedback? Thanks for all your help. It's a function of the CPA and how much profit they can make per job, or the LTV of a new customer or client. There's other factors as well, such as some business literally just want to see their own ads running, or they can run break even so long as they keep their crew busy. Hey Andy, I finished the landing page over the weekend and adapted it for a number of local areas covered by the service provider, making sure there's a separate page for each micro location. Since multiple areas are covered, I'm not sure what domain to go for. So if you were doing carpet cleaning in various areas of Manchester, would you try to find something like, or you would go for something more generic like? I know this is a trivial thing and won't matter much, but every little counts. Personally, I would do a generic domain with a region-specific subdomain. Both. Easiest to start with generic, and if volumes justify it, you can also get the specific. Hi guys, I'm trying to do this too. I got a PPC campaign started for air conditioner repair in my city. The impressions and clicks are there, I think. 123 impressions and 14 clicks in 10 days, almost 10% center, and could get to 20% with a good copy. I got just 2 questions. One, is there any resource on building a landing page for beginners that you guys could recommend? My progress with Elementor is so slow. 2, is there a plugin for capturing the leads? I don't want to use MailChimp or other free or paid tool. Just want to have the lead info go to my email or the tradesman email after he starts paying me. Thank you so much. I'll chime in as someone that's done this a lot. For landing pages, I use a normal page builder plugin for WordPress and find a design I think is doing really well for someone else and copy it. Not 100% copy, but just the same idea, then make it my own. I use analytics and Google Tag Manager to track what happens on the page so I can test different optimizations over time so it's constantly getting better. For leads, I use a plugin called Gravity Forms. They get sent to my email. Sometimes I use Zapier to also make leads to onto a Google Sheet for easier access. My advice is to be thorough and test everything multiple times as if you were a customer so you can catch errors before they cost you money. Hey Andy, just wanted to let you know that thanks to your numerous threads on AdWords and local lead gen, my AdWords campaign is now fully live with a custom landing page for each area that my service provider covers. Call rail number to track or record calls, and I've already received a few impressions today. The landing page is very basic and amateur looking, but it's relevant and will do for now, as I don't fancy spending weeks on building a landing page to start testing. I started bidding at £3 as the max CPC, so let's see how it goes traffic-wise, as I may have to raise the max CPC to get more clicks, but otherwise currently testing to see if I can make this work. Will let you know how it goes. Thanks again. You should start a progress thread so new readers can start right from the beginning. I'm not really into journals or progress threads, as I prefer to keep the records on my side only and just participate in relevant discussions, sharing and helping or asking questions wherever I can. Got my first call today, but unfortunately it went straight to voicemail, as it looks like my service provider doesn't do weekend. Very detailed call from a local customer, leaving her details and asking for a quote on the job required. Feels like a wasted opportunity. The fact that no one picked up the call, I may need to limit my advertising to certain days or times, or maybe find someone who does weekends as well, so this doesn't happen again. Let's see how the next week goes. I'll refer a few more leads to my current guy, then give him a call and see what says regarding an ongoing service. How do you go about pricing and payment methods, Andy? I'll keep my pitch straightforward, no fancy language, just simple talk, explaining what I do in plain terms and how I can help their business with more customers. So obviously the monthly cost will be AdWords cost plus my management fee. I know this very much depends on the type of the service and the number of leads referred, but would appreciate if you could give me some ballpark figures or past client examples that you have dealt with, so I can have a rough idea of what to aim for. Thanks for all your help. Did you try to find someone to help that consumer who left that detailed voicemail? I typically charge $300 or month for a local service business. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Thanks Andy. I had a similar figure in mind, around £200 to $300 or month here in the UK. You have to bear in mind that the bulk of the service provider's cost will be AdWords advertising alone, so in some cases they would be paying £700 to $800 or month for that, plus your service fee, so they end up paying over £1,000 or month for marketing, and it better pay off, because otherwise that is a quite high expense for any local business. As for the recent customer, I don't deal with them directly. The voicemail was actually left on my service provider's phone number, as I'm redirecting and recording calls via CallRail, so I'm not involved in the process from the customer's point of view. I'm sure my guy will give her a call first thing tomorrow morning, which hopefully won't be too late, but it's a lesson learned anyway regarding scheduled advertising. Checking my search terms daily to make sure my ads don't get triggered for irrelevant stuff, even if I'm bidding on keyword plus location. But as far as I understand, you can't look up every single search term unless it was triggered by a significant number of people, according to Google. Is that correct? Source: so if a keyword triggered a click, then it does come up under search terms, showing specifically what search term triggered that keyword. However, what if I wanted to look up all the search terms that triggered my ad that day, but not necessarily resulted in clicks? If a keyword gets only 1 impressions on a given day, can I find out what was the search term that triggered it? I know this is very simple in Bing Ads, when generating a search terms report, but Google doesn't seem to make it easy. Unless I need a visit to Specsavers. P.S. Andy, hope you don't mind me bombarding your thread with questions, but I'm sure others will learn from my mistakes. If someone clicks an ad any time in the account history, then you'll get to see stats for that search term, most of the time. If no one ever clicked with a particular search term, then we don't see the data for that search term. A bit cheeky of them not to provide the impressions data. Unless something triggers a click, because essentially you'll end up paying for an irrelevant term and only then add it to the negatives list. Of course, this is not necessarily a big problem if you are bidding on exact match or even phrase only, but with broad and broad match modified, it's not exactly ideal. Got 2 more calls today, and so far it seems pretty much as I expected in terms of clicks to calls ratio. I haven't calculated any exact numbers, but what's obvious now is that even when I'm getting only 4 to 5 clicks a day, it's still often enough to generate a call or even 2. Clearly, a day and night difference to all the previous stuff I've done in the past. Promoting digital products for weight loss, home improvement and similar, where these kind of numbers would provide no results at all, because in those cases you're dealing with hundreds of clicks until you get a single sale. This is of course only the case when you've got the complete combination of search terms, ads and landing page right, as Andy has explained it very well in his 2 more calls, and then I'm getting in touch with my guy to see if we can work together. To be honest, I'm not a fan of this kind of sales talk over the phone, but I guess it's just another barrier to entry that not everyone is willing to climb over. Ha! They're totally cheeky. And by default they also hide the keyword column when you look at the search terms. I wonder why? Exact isn't as exact as you think. Watch your search terms. Awesome. Sometimes it really is like shooting fish in a barrel. It's similar, I think. Are they looking to buy something, or are they looking for information? Get in front of buyers first and get profitable with them, before trying to tackle the info seekers. At least it's not a sales call now. You've sent leads and hopefully new business. Do they want more or not? If not, then move on to the next guy. Andy, I hope I'm not jumping the gun at this point, but how do you manage the payments for your clients, and how do you accept payments for advertising cost and the monthly management fee? So far what I've gathered from your posts is that I should always request payment in advance for the oncoming month to avoid a situation where you've spent the money on AdWords and are now having to chase the payment from your client at the end of the month, plus your service fee, direct bank transfer, PayPal, Stripe or something similar. Feel free to PM, if necessary. Thanks. I try not to say should or always. You'll find a way that works for you. Most of my clients pay the ad spend directly to Google, and pay me a flat monthly fee in advance. My preference is automated payments, as I don't want to spend time chasing lots of little payments. Andy, I've been going through your AdWords and generally the progress threads of the last few years, and one thing I've noticed which surprised me a bit, was that instead of scaling the number of local lead gen clients to bigger numbers, you decided to switch to completely different business models, where you've created your own AdWords course, expanded into YouTube, paid newsletters, etc. Of course, I'm all for diversifying income streams and growing on different platforms, but I wondered why you've put the local lead gen to aside and didn't grow it to levels of where you would have 100 plus clients all over Ireland, the UK and maybe even the US. I would assume the number of available services and cities with decent search volumes out there would allow to do this. Granted, it would be a big pain in the bottom to manage all of them yourself, while looking after the campaigns, tracking everything and making sure everyone was happy. But I'm sure you could find a way to outsource this to lessen your workload and allow time for expanding further. I don't mean outsource in a way that you completely detach yourself from everything, but just get some help, possibly from a family member or a friend, to manage the extra work. To me, it seems like this would have been a much better strategy to grow into 5 figures or month, while maintaining a good work-life balance. I know you've mentioned countless times that you genuinely enjoy the process and want to be involved in everything yourself, which is definitely a good thing, but I'm sure, as you know yourself, There are only 24 hours in a day and there's only so much you can do in that time. So in order to turn this into a fast lane business model, whatever you want to call it, to get a higher reward for less time spent on the business, then expanding to more clients and getting people to help you would have been a logical progression. Would be great to hear your thoughts on this and possibly any limitations of this model that I might not be aware of. Thanks. There's a few reasons I've not got 100 clients in one industry, and have also got a course and paid email newsletter. 1 I like writing and helping people with what I've learned, and people asked for a course. The paid email newsletter is also an outlet for me to write and create. 2 I'm good at Google Ads, and I'm also good at training or teaching or simplifying. Am I doing people a disservice by not teaching them some of what I've learned? 3 I believe that serving the DIY market gives me the material to help the DIY market. It seems a shame not to sell the sawdust in the sawmill. 5 I'm not at euro 100k a month, but what I've been doing can certainly help people get started and up to euro 5k a month and euro 10k a month without taking on much of a team. I help a few people get started down that road and let them figure out their own path once they get going. Is it the fastest and easiest way? I don't know, but it's a great starting point. You get paid to learn how to generate leads for business owners. You get paid to rub shoulders with business owners and learn the good and the bad. 6 I still like one-on-one communication with clients, so still consult rather than go fully hands-off. It's definitely something I'm working on if I want to scale beyond 20 to 30 clients. 7 I get inbound leads every week for totally different industries. Because I have a problem saying no, I end up spread across too many industries trying to make it work for each client, rather than going deep into specific industries. This is due to still being positioned too broadly as a Google Ads guy, instead of the guy who generates leads for blacksmiths. 8 A tricky part of having lots of small clients is when they all have different websites, and ones that don't convert visitors into leads very well. We're working on our own pages that we roll out to client domains, or my own domains. This is a software development project that I'm happy to chip away at. The consulting clients pay for this tech to be built. 9 Yep. I'm spread thin. I've a lot going on family-wise. This is an understatement, as well as being fascinated by all the different options in front of me. Focusing more would help. That does mean saying no more often, and not getting sidetracked by people who want my time. If or when you get known for generating leads or Google Ads, then many people and business owners will want to have a quick chat with you. This is a good thing if you manage it. 10 More and more clients are coming through who sell courses. It's not a big leap from selling local services using Google Ads to selling physical and digital products online. I might as well use myself as a guinea pig for that, and also apply learnings from client campaigns to my own offerings. 11 Once you get to 20 stable clients, you likely have enough experience and skills to choose slightly different directions. I'm looking at pay-per-lead networks and going with national businesses rather than just adding blacksmiths one at a time. 12 My background is IT. I can see opportunities for scaling without taking on clients of a service, but taking on customers who pay for products. 13 Client management definitely has to get more organized the more clients you take on. We're at the point where I'd class our current processes as client management, but we now want to figure out how to manage customers as well. I'm happy to always have a few clients, but I don't want to scale that any bigger. 14 Small local service businesses are tricky to work with. They're often flaky, and penny pinching. At the moment I kiss a lot of frogs. I could automate and scale, but that's not been my style to date. It's a case of switching gears though. What got me to here isn't what will get me to there. There's lots of ways to do this. If it's something you find interesting and you can get results, then it's a great stepping stone to take you in lots of different directions. Get to Euro 2K or month, Euro 5K or month and upwards, and then see what opportunities beckon, and that match your skills, personality, and passions. Some more on this: 5 to 10 years ago I had dabbled with courses and forums but didn't like it. It felt guru-like. In the intervening years things have changed a lot. Udemy, Skillshare, Lynda, and now have made courses online so much more legit than the dodgy make-money online courses we only used to see. My end goal is a lifestyle business. I don't want to be at the beck and call of 100 clients or 1,000 paid forum members. I've had 100 people buy my course in 3 years though, and the customer service requirements are minimal. Having 10 to 15 higher-paying consulting clients, and thousands of course students and or paid email newsletter subscribers who don't have one-to-one access to me could be a quicker way of me reaching my financial goals while maintaining the lifestyle I want. I also blatantly have an itch I can't scratch when it comes to helping people by answering questions, and by producing copious amounts of content. If money was no object, I'd still want to also grow lead gen businesses in various industries. Hey Andy, how do you cope with your landing pages running and maintenance costs? Do you charge your customers through your monthly fee or do you pay for it yourself? Also, do you nowadays charge for the landing pages you design or provide it for free as a gesture of goodwill? Thanks for this great thread. Mostly I now include the page in the monthly Google Ads fee. This is if they're not bespoke and are instead created from templates we've developed. I don't currently charge extra for a few reasons: 1 Without these pages we may lose them as a Google Ads client anyway because their current page doesn't work well enough. 2 Getting into discussions with their web developers is way too time consuming. I'd rather we just did it. 3 I don't even want to spend the time and effort trying to persuade clients why we should have a dedicated and fast landing page. I'd rather build it and show them a working version for us to fine-tune copy with them. 4 I'd rather have all our clients using our pages so we stress test them and improve them faster. 5 It's a nice selling point. For $X or month we can run your Google Ads campaigns for you, and provide a dedicated landing page if you need it. I see it as my Google Ads clients paying me to develop my own unbounce or lead pages tool. We have one customer who is paying monthly for a couple of these pages while he runs his own Google Ads campaigns. Pretty much as I expected, finding a client and securing a business relationship is the only part of this business model. Fair enough. It does take some knowledge and experience to structure an AdWords campaign properly, and also build a good landing page, which will be relevant to your keywords or ads combination, but clearly that's the easy part. I've only come to this conclusion after failing to secure just 3 clients, but it was enough to make me switch from the naive thinking that everyone wants more customers and after giving out a few leads for free, you would have no problems closing a client. Turns out I was wrong, because the first guy totally ignored me despite me trying to call multiple times, sending texts with a quick summary of what I do and the calls that I've referred completely free of charge. I couldn't believe it. The second guy wasn't too excited, as from listening to his conversations with the leads that I sent him, he was more interested in big commercial work, rather than retail. This time I didn't even call, just sent a text, mentioning the calls I've referred, offered my help, but again no reply. The third client actually replied to my text and asked about my rates, which is not a good thing, if the cost is all they are interested in. But at least I had a reply, so that was definitely progress. I gave him a simple breakdown of how it works, i.e. he pays the advertising cost plus a monthly fee, and all the calls are totally his without any extra charges, but apparently he said he's too busy and can't take on more work now. Not sure if that was a polite way of telling me to piss off or he's genuinely busy. Looks like I'll have to grow a thicker skin and make a list of potential clients that I'll need to go through, because I completely underestimated this part of the equation. You would think that if you're sending more customers to a business free of charge, then they would be interested to at least hear what you've got to say, as a minimum, right? Or maybe not. Any similar experiences? This is for blue-collar local tradesmen, small teams, nothing fancy. Blaze Brosnan. This is regardless of whether you're getting inbound leads as I am or you're going outboundish as you are. You couldn't believe he doesn't want free leads. That's a learning. Plenty of businesses owners are happy with the size of their business. Plenty are happy they've built a job for themselves. Nothing wrong with either, right? Then there's the businesses that are getting plenty of phone calls already, and one of my clients is a plumber who lives over the road from me. I can see his house from my front door. As he was agreeing to do a trial month with us, he wagged his finger at me and went on around me. Wow. This is good to know. Got it? You just want new boiler installations. I tried the inbound-outbound method. I'll have to trademark that, but didn't go deep into it because I get a steady trickle of inbound leads and see the pattern? Here's what I tried and learned when I did do a bit of inbound-outbound though. 1. I ran a Google Ads campaign to a simple landing page where someone filled in a request a callback form. 2. I got a handful of leads overnight. 3. I rang each of them the next morning. Most of them had resolved the problem or found someone else. That's great. I'm delighted your washing machine is working again. My main problem was I was working as a Google Ads contractor on site in a big company at the time and could only make my calls on my lunch break or a snacky toilet break. I knocked this exercise on the head after the first day. 4. One of the people I rang did indeed have a washing machine she needed repaired. I got a bit of the backstory, learned she'd only bought it a year ago, what the brand was, and what the best number and time would be to get someone to call her. She thanked me and went back to minding the kids I could hear in the background. 5. I googled for washing machine repairs location and started ringing the businesses I could find and or filling in the inquiry forms on their website. Lots of people didn't answer the phone. Lots of the inquiry forms didn't actually work. WTF? 6. When I finally got hold of someone after a lot more inquiring than it should reasonably take, I asked, "Hi. Do you fix washing machines in location?" They said no and I hung up. Is that a no to do you fix washing machines? Or a no to do you fix washing machines? 7. I learned for the next call. No me, "Hi. Do you fix washing machines?" Her, "Yes." Me, "Great. Do you cover location?" Her, "No." Me, "Oh." I run the AdWords campaigns for my friend who does washing machine repairs in Dublin. We ended up getting an inquiry from a lady in location who has a 1-year-old brand name washing machine that is described the symptoms. Do you know anyone who might be able to help her? Her, laughs. How did you get an inquiry for location? That's not in the UK. Me, yeah? I know, all innocent like. She didn't bite about the AdWords part. Fair enough. Her, hold on. Let me dig out the names of some guys I know who serve that location. What was the brand of machine again? Me, wait, as she rummages through her paperwork or phone or computer or whatever. Her, here we are. Give Peter a ring on 111, 1111, 111. If you can't get hold of him, then try John on treble 2, 2222, treble 2, or maybe David on treble 3, 3333, treble 3. Me, that's great. Thanks for your help. Her, no worries. Hope that lady gets sorted. Friendly buys. Nothing like the slamming down of the phone if I drunk saying I can get you more phone calls. A short while later, me, "Hi Peter, Mary from ABC Plumbing said you fixed washing machines in location?" Him, "That's right." Me, "Great. We have an inquiry from a lady in location whose brand name washing machine is described the symptoms. Is that something you can help her with?" Him, No, we don't deal with brand name washing machines. Maybe try Matthew on treble 4, double 4 double 4, treble 4, etc. I eventually got someone to ring the lady, but when I rung the plumber back to find out how you got on, he said the husband had got home and fixed the washing machine. Cool. I let it at that, as I thought I'd have more than enough toilet breaks that day. So what was I learning? Whose website worked, and whose didn't. T. Who answered their damn phone. Who was good on the phone. Who was true to their word and actually rang the lady when they said they would. Who let me know what happened when I rang them back. Basically, the people who would actually convert any leads I sent them into pound because they answered the damn phone, and followed up. Here. I did a video discussing this a few years ago. Ah shit. I just realized my brother had passed away a day or two before this video and we didn't know yet. Following on from the above, I went into a local call center and spoke to the business owner. I told him my plan to generate phone calls of people looking for blacksmiths in Dublin. This is what we do. We run ads on Google and generate phone calls or request callbacks of people looking for blacksmiths in Dublin. Could you take those inbound calls and inquiries and ring around to find a blacksmith who will service that inquiry? Whoa. You want us to ring up blacksmiths with an actual lead and then follow up to see how they got on and if they'd be interested in getting more? You've done all the hard work. I'd love to see how that would work. Damn. We'll even do that for 2 weeks for free for you, and I'll even man the phones to try and figure out what the scripts would be. This is so much better than the 2 guys who came in last month with a copy of the Yellow Pages and wanted us to ring all the blacksmiths and ask them to sign up to their empty blacksmiths directory. I told them we've tried that before and no one wants to sign up to a directory. Thanks, Andy. I remember watching one of your videos, possibly the one that you've posted above, where you mentioned that it's better to do some work up front, make sure you can get traffic in that particular area for X business type, generate a lead and then get in touch with business owners offering your service. This is exactly what I did prior to calling 3 of my potential clients as I explained above. But I think I was looking through this idea with rose-tinted glasses and completely ignoring the fact that, as you say, some business owners are just happy with whatever work volume they currently have and are not necessarily looking to grow. After failing with my 4th potential client last week and spending £200+ on Google Ads, I decided to change my strategy slightly and make use of your saying of helping people in motion. What do I mean by that? So instead of just randomly looking up business owners who cover the area where my lead is in Google, I now look for businesses who not only cover the area that I need, but also who advertise their business on Google Ads themselves. That means that they are aware of Google's advertising platform and are willing to spend money on marketing, whether they do it themselves or through a marketing agency, but it's a clear indicator that they will be a lot more likely to make use of my leads, rather than someone who is not advertising on Google. You might argue that what's the point of using my service, when they are currently doing the same thing, but I guess it would depend on what kind of results they are getting, because a poorly set up AdWords campaign can cost tons of money without generating any relevant leads. And the second thing I'm planning to do is to contact business owners by posting personalized letters, sending to their company address, instead of calling or texting or emailing. I think the latter methods are heavily overused, but possibly for a good reason, so I guess I'll have to try my method and see how it goes. I think a phone call is too spontaneous to introduce yourself, explain how the process works and offer your service, while a text is a bit too informal or non-professional, and an email could end up in their junk folder, or these guys receive so many emails that yours could simply get ignored. A letter will definitely make you stand out, especially with a handwritten address, a personalized message specifically geared towards that business owner, and of course a list of the calls that you've referred to that business prior to sending the letter. 1. Generate leads or calls for the business owner. 2. Send a letter introducing yourself and asking for how did it go. 3. then email or call and secure client. This is all theory at the moment, but I'm interested to find out how it will go. This is a good route to take to start procuring customers to generate leads for. The success will be determined by the cost per lead to the customer based on the gross margin of the service that they sell. Also, the type of business is important. This type model works with some businesses better than others. I would consider sending the letter before actually sending any leads, and if possible have a way to track the leads and how the customer handled them. A little update from me on client acquisition. If anyone's interested, and hopefully will drop in with a few tips. In my last post I mentioned that I was going to send letters, instead of calling or emailing my potential clients, but I quickly discounted that method, after my letter didn't get delivered, because I posted it with a signature requirement. To make matters worse, the person who it was addressed to only collected the letter from the local delivery office like 2 weeks later. Of course, I tried to call him and email in the meantime, but that's not the point anyway. Letters consume a lot of time and it's just an unnecessary delay in communication. Lesson learned: don't reinvent the wheel. Calling is the popular choice, because it simply works. No more silly letters, and I would rather not email as well. Calls only. For the last few weeks I also changed my strategy of how I choose which clients to promote and contact offering my services. Instead of spending hours trying to find that perfect company that looks professional, covers many areas and has many years of experience, I now go to Google, search for the service plus area that I'm looking to find a client in, make a list of 10, 20, 30 relevant businesses, ideally those with a direct mobile contact number instead of an office number, and start calling. So at this point, I've already promoted a few clients for my own testing and I know that I can get relevant leads. I know approximately how much it costs to get those leads and I know that they are genuine customers looking for quotes, exactly what a business wants. This means that when I'm contacting a new client, I essentially have customers with phones in their hands looking for a service in the area that my potential client covers. All I need is a yes from a new client, and the next day their phone will start ringing, because my landing page is already all set up and the Google Ads campaign is all up and running. It's just a matter of directing the traffic or calls to whoever I choose to work with. Now, as much as I don't like cold calling and selling myself over the phone, but this is a necessary process that needs to be done in order to qualify your potential client and not waste time blindly promoting companies who have no interest in paying for any kind of advertising or marketing. I made this mistake with my first few clients, where I just found their website. It looked professional to me, so I decided to promote them without calling them first, spent some money on ads, got the traffic, referred the calls, and then when I tried to call or text to say that I've referred real customers to them completely free of charge, some of them weren't even bothered to reply to me. The approach that I've been taking lately is a lot more pushy, but I believe it helps to weed out those who don't have the interest or the budget to spend on marketing. The reason why I say it's pushy, is because I mention the costs involved for using my services in the first call. First, I get the basics out of the way, making sure they offer the service and cover the area where I can get the leads, and they ask if they would be interested in getting more work from those areas. I offer them a short trial of 4 to 5 customers free of charge, so they can see that I'm a genuine guy and can get real business for them, and once I've done that, I can attempt to secure a minimum of 1 month marketing for a fixed monthly fee plus advertising spend. I tried the above with 2 guys so far, but one of them was a bit rude over the phone with customers, so I didn't like that and decided to give him a miss, and the other guy was apparently very happy with everything, even completed a few jobs that I referred to him during the trial, but told me he wants to start from March 2020. Not exactly what I was helping for, but this seems to be a better strategy for client acquisition, where you call them up, have a quick chat, explain how it all works, discuss the costs involved, refer a few calls free of charge, so they can see that you're serious. and then close them for a monthly service. I'm totally new to local lead gen client acquisition via cold calls, so I'm just dumping my thoughts or experience here, which hopefully will be useful for those starting out. Can you please dig any holes in the above for me, Andy? And what's your approach to this, assuming you still do cold calling? I don't cold call, but your strategy sounds sensible. I don't think mentioning the price in the first call is necessarily pushy. They probably want to know anyway, and you want to screen people out quickly too. Just bear in mind you're trying to find the people who see the value in what you do and not the cost. Thanks, Andy. Good to know that I'm on the right path. Did you end up doing any cold calling in your earlier days, when you just started out with local lead gen? Or did it sort of take off from word of mouth, helping out locals, people you know, etc.? I know you get a lot of inbounds nowadays, but I'm sure you weren't always known as the AdWords guy, so how did you do it back in the day? I helped my electrician friend for free. That opened my eyes to doing this full time. I then got my electrician friend and his family to mention it to other people. Not much came of that. I sent myself on start your own business courses. They were so bad. I met lots of budding business owners on those courses. Dada. Tried closing another 3 clients, who all were happy to go ahead with my 5 customer free trial, and referred them genuine customers who converted into sales, but for some reason I'm struggling to close those clients for a regular monthly package after the trial. I'll admit I'm in a quite low-paying industry, where the revenue made from a job is not huge, so I'm thinking my efforts would be better spent in an industry, where services are more expensive. Initially, it makes sense, but then obviously the keywords in those fields will be more expensive as well, thus raising the overall monthly cost for my services. What gives me motivation to continue trying in my current field, is that one of the potential clients that I reached out to, mentioned to me that he's been using another agency for regular advertising for the last 2 years and it's working well for him. So basically I've got proof, albeit from just one guy, that my service can be bought on regular basis, but I've already been through 5 guys and none of them took it further than the trial, citing the high monthly cost as the main reason. Am I in the wrong industry, or it's a bit too early to draw conclusions and I should try another 4 to 5 guys? You might do an analysis using the prospect's gross margin and figure the lead cost a percentage of that margin and see if it's worth staying in the niche. I'll admit it's a low-paying niche that I'm currently in, so I've already decided that I'm going to take a break from it, switch to a completely different, higher-paying niche, and see what difference that makes. It's only a matter of making a new landing page, creating or optimizing a new campaign and doing a trial with a few clients. In a nutshell, I've gone through all of your AdWords threads and this is the first time you flat out say, better off focusing on a niche. Can you elaborate why? Firstly, there's people making it work whether they focus on one industry or not. If I focused on generating leads for blacksmiths, then I wouldn't just use Google Ads, I'd Facebook, Instagram, and whatever works. I'd really get to know the blacksmith industry if I had 10 blacksmith clients instead of 10 clients in 10 different industries. If I had a website such as, then it would likely be more attractive to a blacksmith looking for marketing help than. I never did focus on an industry but instead stayed focused on the service Google Ads. That's proved fortunate with the C0VLD-19 pandemic decimating whole industries while leaving others going. Andy, and other guys who are doing local lead general, have your search volumes plummeted since the coronavirus outbreak? This will obviously vary from industry to industry, but I'm struggling to get impressions even for emergency type of services, which you would think wouldn't really be affected by the pandemic, because when you have an emergency, it needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. Anyone experiencing similar changes? I've been doing quite a bit, probably too much market research on this very thing. From what I've seen, landscaping, home health care, and various cleaning services, i.e. disinfecting, are doing okay. Everything else seems to be barely getting by. Even plumbing. I'm curious to know what industries has seen navigate the pandemic best. My electrician friend stopped his appliance repairs business for the moment. I don't know if the search volume is still there as the campaigns are paused. Locksmiths are still being searched for. Some other essential services are still getting volume, but it does seem lower. What was the criteria that made you say this? Was child physiotherapist Dublin under 1K average monthly searches and the competition high in the keyword planner? How did you come up with pediatric physiotherapists tagged? Was the average monthly services low and the competition low? I ask because I'm currently prospecting a campaign for a moving company. I'm not used to this vertical as it's a bit different to run a campaign for them than it is a window washer. I followed my nose and figured out what people would search that indicates they wanted to speak to someone local. The volumes didn't matter so much as I'd run campaigns to find out the volumes. I'm just thinking too hard. A quick update for anyone who's doing local lead gen via Google Ads. I managed to do 7 free trials after calling 100 plus prospects, but couldn't close anyone after the trial. The business owners are happy with what I'm doing and they are getting genuine leads, which result in sales, but it seems like they cannot justify the cost of advertising plus my service fee. After having a chat with Andy back in March about this, I decided to change my strategy slightly, and instead of sending the maximum number of leads possible to my prospects, which obviously increases the ad cost, I limited the ad exposure to keep the costs down, so I could pitch overall lower monthly costs. Unfortunately, this hasn't worked yet, as I'm struggling to find someone new who would go for the free trial, let alone a full monthly package. Tried contacting some of the previous guys that I did trials for to try and pitch cheaper monthly packages using the above strategy, but had no luck. I tried a more expensive niche back in April, but I couldn't see it working, as the CPC was crazy, so despite the higher revenue per sale for the prospects, I would need to pitch significantly higher monthly cost for the ads, while keeping my service fee aka profit low, to make the monthly package more appealing. Anyway, just recently decided to switch to a new simpler niche, where the cost of the service is quite low, so the conversions from calls are pretty high, making business owners happy. The question is whether I can make it work for me, not just for the prospects. Overall, it's definitely a pain in the backside calling random guys and pitching your service, trying to convince them that advertising or getting more customers and doing more business is good for them, but it's amazing how ignorant some people can be, or that they're just happy with whatever they've got, which is fair enough. Let's see how this new niche goes, but without a doubt, personally for me, the hardest part of the local lead gen is securing a client. Before I started with this back in December 2019, I thought it would be getting relevant traffic or getting the visitors to make a call, but turns out all of that is pretty straightforward, at least for me. However, making cold calls and closing sales is where the real work happens. How are you doing this? I'm assuming you're limiting impressions by tightening your matching, right? It sounds like you've been running ads for long enough to bring value to people. Why are you giving away your services for free? You know that story tells in about the dude who puts the dresser on the sidewalk and no one takes it until he put a sign on it say $50. That's what your post reminded me of. I'm in a similar boat, but I'm coming at it differently and it's working so far. My background is in sales. Going into business for myself, I've learned that I have to talk about my service like a business owner, not a salesperson. Big difference. I'm sure shared some game on this. Once I found that I'm good enough to bring value to the market, I started pricing by services. FCK a free trial. So I started with my existing network. People ask me what I've been doing. I tell them what I do and usually get dismissed. I was planning on cold calling, but then I caught something Andy said about networking events. The goal is to get in front of business owners. The best way to do that is going where they go. I joined BNI and got my first paying client immediately. There's a video of Andy and I talking about it here, anyways. I already got another referral from my first client before I got results from her because she loves me. I don't plan on cold calling with a business like this because business owners, for a number of reasons that can be summed up by saying it's probably the least effective way, people have to know, like, and trust you before they pay you for what the type of business we do. Put yourself in their shoes. Would you buy from a stranger making your approach? However, if you met a fellow business owner, not sale-easy guy, at a networking meeting, or a local business course, or some kind of association for your specific vertical, and it would make it way easier for people to want to buy from you, and that's what sales is, greater than making it easy for people to buy. Hope that helps, man. Feel free to PM if there's anything I can do for you. Matching and campaign relevancy is already perfect, so I'm simply lowering the daily budget to limit the impressions or clicks. In other words, I'm pitching a cheaper monthly package, because ultimately I'm spending less on ads, but obviously referring less leads as well. There's no getting away from that. Sure, if you want the max number of leads, then be prepared to spend, but otherwise, if I just want to close a new client for a monthly package, then it makes sense to start small, then possibly grow bigger in the future, if that's what the client wants. Like Andy explained to me, not everyone wants as many leads as possible. So you might think you're doing the right thing by maxing out your campaign, but unfortunately not everyone thinks big and wants to grow their business to the next level. Free trial is the icebreaker to show them I'm the real deal and can do what I say. Yes, it's money down the drain if I fail to close a prospect, but you could look at it as a client acquisition cost. Spending £100 on ads to have the possibility to close someone for £500 or month package example figures, where the client would be very likely to stay with you for many months or even years to come, is totally justified in my view. Besides, before I do a free trial, I try to feel out the prospect on a cold call, find out if they've done any advertising in the past, how big is their business, and just generally get an idea whether I'm talking with someone who wants free money or they have real interest in my offer. There's no way on earth that I would be able to close someone on a cold call by pitching them the above monthly package or anything similar. I think the only way to get around doing free trials would be to physically set up a meeting with business owners after a successful cold call. Do some kind of a presentation, exactly what Andy does, and then once you've built up the trust in the meeting, then there will be a chance to close the prospect at the end of it. You could say the free trial is an expensive shortcut to building trust. Yes, it costs you money up front, but it's totally remote, it's quick, and it's not just you waffling for 2 hours, but you're actually referring real customers to the prospect, and essentially making money for him. Or what you're saying totally makes sense, and it clearly works for you, and many other people, including Andy. I've read many of Andy's posts and watched his videos, where he described how he was approached by business owners for help with lead gen. But he couldn't always help them due to various reasons, such as limited search volume, expensive clicks, etc. So while networking is without a doubt a good way to build relationships and find clients, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to help those people with their businesses. Local lead gen via Google Ads can get really expensive, especially if you dive into high-price service niches, where the customer's location doesn't always form part of a keyword, so you end up bidding on quite generic keywords and using radius targeting to make the campaign more relevant, but the intent is obviously not the same as when you have a location in the keyword. This means less calls and less sales. This is why I'm doing things backwards, you could say, where I build out a campaign in my chosen niche and make sure I can genuinely help businesses to get more leads, before I approach them with my offer. Thanks for the tips. A PM is coming your way. Are you paying for the ad spend, or are you having your customers pay the ad spend? As a business owner, I offered the free trials to get some hands-on experience with a guinea pig until I got good enough at it to get results for people. If you're good enough at getting results for people, you may want to reconsider doing it for free. I can only share with you my experience with the hopes you can glean something from it. I called like 6 people in my network offering a free trial. They just had to pay Google the $10 a day to get the ads posted. I called a friend of mine just to check up on him. Coincidentally, he couldn't pay his rent because the shops were closed due to C0 VLD. I offered my services and he agreed. I was stoked. Then he called back like 6 times second-guessing his decision, and I had to keep convincing him to let me do it for him. Red flag. He let me run the ads, made $500 in the first 7 to 10 days and probably made some repeat customers if he did a good enough job. At about the 14th day 2 weeks I told him he's got to pay me a fee and I strongly suggest he raise his ad budget. He couldn't see the value and thought since the shops will be opening soon, he's made enough money and decided to end the account. He wanted to pay me for the work that I did, but I didn't let him. That was my first win. I took 4 days to visit family in Santa Cruz, and when I came back, I immediately got into looking for more customers, minus the free trial, because my how was unique, and my why was to help the people who want the help. The phrase took a whole new meaning for me. That's a quote I'm sure you've heard from Andy before. I like what Buffet said. In other words, I just started saying I do Google Ads for service businesses every time I spoke to someone. I visited a lot of networking groups, probably like 3 a day for 4 days straight until I landed my next client. Boom. She just sent me an email while I write this saying she wants to continue renting the funnel when this month is over. True. I think building the relationship is the most important aspect in getting someone to pay me to run ads for them. I had no idea if it would work for the clients I've gotten so far. In fact, I told them that. They liked me enough to have a casual, hour-long conversation with me in which I explained the whole process and answered all their questions. By the end of it, the process made enough sense to them that they were willing to try it, even though results aren't guaranteed. Luckily, I've got this forum, the interweb, and a friend named Andy Black. Which means results are very, very possible. I like your style. One of the reasons I love this stuff is because it's so versatile. When I was deciding to do this, I wasn't sure if I should get leads first or a client first. I chose get a client and have them pay the ad spend. If after the first month, they don't want to do it, fine. No contract, no cancellation fees, no risk. We tried. They're paying for the process. Not sure which vertical you're doing, but it sounds like you're spending a lot of money and not getting customers. That sounds immensely frustrating. Are you running ads to your own website and then when you get the lead, are you calling business to give them the leads? I forgot to mention. After my friend didn't want the account anymore, I called 6 other people in the same niche as him. I already had the LP and ads set up that were averaging at least a new client every day. All I had to do was plug in their phone number and direct the traffic to them. No one took me up on it. So I know what you mean. When I'm doing the free trial, I cover the cost of advertising. That's kind of the whole point. The prospect spends nothing, but gains a few customers, while I build up my trust with him. It would be silly to call it free, waiving my service fee, but then turn around and say that they've got to pay for the ad cost. I totally agree. A lot probably depends on the niche. So in niches where the customer acquisition cost is high for the business owner, then he may be more willing to cover your ad cost, while you promote his business without charging any setup or service fees. However, in niches where new customers can be acquired quite easily or cheaply, especially if the cost of the service is low, then business owners are hesitant to spend anything on ads, because whatever referrals they get from existing customers or word of mouth is good enough to keep them going. You see, whenever I make a cold call, after I've done the basic intro of who I am and what I do, then it all essentially comes down to how much is it? It's a totally natural question that any sensible business owner would ask, so you don't necessarily dismiss a prospect when he starts asking questions about the cost, without allowing you to go into details about what they're paying for. Yes, it can often be a red flag, but I always mention the usual monthly costs before I pitch them the free trial, because obviously you don't want people doing free trials and then telling you to jog on. It can still be hit and miss, but if I'm struggling to get someone to go for a completely free and no commitment trial, then I can't see how I'll be better off trying to convince someone to pay for the ad cost, while waiving my setup and service fees. Without a doubt, when you do the whole thing in person, then it's a totally different story compared to getting a cold call. Having a physical contact definitely builds a better connection, and it cannot be compared to any kind of calling. As for my landing page setup, I'm dealing with calls only, using a call tracking service through my own number. The lander is very simple and quite generic. It's designed to make the visit a call, that's it. The calls are recorded and redirected to any number I choose. That's how I keep track of the leads referred and let the business owner deal directly with customers, without me having to get involved in any way. Some people do. Maybe figure out what they're doing different. Also, beware of those limiting beliefs. Andy, have you got any more info on this? I've watched numerous videos and read various articles on cold calling, but the general consensus is that you don't close on the first call, but rather arrange a meeting in person, where you then pitch your service during a presentation. I'm sure there's no need for this, if your service is $50 or month, but surely any other considerable amount of money would be a hard sell to a complete stranger over the phone. I don't do cold calling or cold emailing. There's whole threads in here about both though, and a million Facebook groups of folks talking about how they cold call or email to get clients for their agencies, mostly Facebook agencies funnily enough. And everyone else who does Google Ads. Wanted to get your feedback on an experiment I tried with a local prospect for lead gen and hear your thoughts. So normally when I set up a campaign for a new client, I always take the main service keyword, let's say washing machine repair, and make sure to add a location to every keyword variation. Meaning, I would have broad match modified keywords as below, plus washing plus machine plus repair plus location 1 plus washing plus machine plus repair plus location 2 plus washing plus machine plus repair plus location 3. You get the point. As for targeting, I target the whole country, people actually located in target country, because keywords do all the work anyway, so I don't have to worry about going after specific areas in town, etc. This works really well if your locations have a decent search volume for whatever service you're promoting. However, I recently tried to help out a client in a smallish city, and unfortunately the above strategy didn't work, because it's such a low populated area, that none of the location-specific keywords were generating impressions, let alone clicks. Therefore, as a test, I decided to switch my strategy slightly, and target a specific radius that covered the service area of my client instead of the whole country, and bid on generic keywords, such as plus washing plus machine plus repair, but with no location added. This improved things in terms of impressions or clicks, but now I was getting mostly irrelevant traffic, that wasn't actually looking for a company to repair their washing machine, and instead, they were after tools, tips, DIY stuff, etc. Naturally, I kept an eye on the search terms, and I tried to add all the useless stuff into negatives, but after a few days decided to stop, because it seemed like a never-ending battle. There are so many variables that you come across, and I couldn't justify spending money on these stupid terms, because they were eating my budget and not producing any calls or business. If you are still with me, then I guess my question is whether you think it's possible to run a lead gen campaign for a local client this way, or you should always bid on keywords with locations in them, because otherwise the intent is simply not there. If there's enough volume, I run geo-modified keywords with locations in them, and if there's not, then we have to go for campaigns IP targeted to the city and add more negatives. Exactly what I've done. But felt that running non-geo-modified keywords was killing my budget and not producing enough results. I guess when you go for city or radius targeting with no location keywords, you just have to suck up the initial period of negging irrelevant stuff until the campaign becomes more targeted. No other way, really. Thanks. There's some standard negatives, of course. This is exactly what we do. Maybe because I learned from Andy. Haha. Hopefully it's because it makes sense. Add to modified broad keywords to get them closer to a geo-mod search. A quick question about daily budgets, which is lately getting a bit annoying, as Google likes to overspend, and there's not much we can do about it. I know they say that event author can sometimes spend double your daily budget on certain days of the month, when the search volumes are higher, but they promise not to exceed your average daily budget at the end of the month. This is all well and good if you're advertising 7 days a week, but I was wondering what happens when you launch campaigns in the middle of the month and you advertise during weekdays only. For example, I'm running some trial campaigns for a few clients and I've got a feeling that Google is going to overspend my budget, and the ad payments I've received from clients won't be enough to cover the expenses. I'm still a few weeks away from reaching a point where it will become clear whether their stupid budgeting system works or not. But things are not looking too pretty at the moment. Just for the sake of an example, if you were to advertise Monday to Friday for a client for the next 4 weeks starting from Monday next week 17 or 08 or 2020 and stop on 11 or 09 or 20, with a budget of £20 or day, what would the final ad spend look like? I would usually take an advanced payment of £400 to cover the ad spend for the whole period. But looking at how Google exceeds my daily budget quite often, I'm not too confident the numbers will work out well in the end. Let me know what you think and your experience with Google's budgeting system. Thank you for the share, Andy. I've read a lot of your content here. It's awesome. Do you see the value for offline marketing as much as you do for online? Bandit signs, flyers, etc. Funny enough, I'm working on building a machine which can shoot folded flyers with a clip on them, so you can get a few thousand out in a day driving by people's houses. While LQ, it works. I've kind of always been obsessed with stuff like this, but I know there is a lot of cons. What's your opinion? I can't stand their budgeting system. I might want to run a test for a week at $10 or day. But I've got to start at $5 or day because Google will likely take 2x the initial daily budget. And I've seen it going over the 2x too. It's something we have to work around. I set budgets lower than what I want to spend so that I don't overspend. So that's the result of Google trying to be helpful with budgets. I now underspend to make sure we don't overspend. I'm sure anything can work, especially if the herd is going the other way. I provide online marketing as a service to businesses, but I don't run ads for myself. I get my business by good old-fashioned relationship building. Chatted with me about relationship building here. Funny how Kyle wanted to talk about relationship building rather than Google Ads, right? Is going to like these latest news from Google. Starting September 2020. The search terms report only includes terms that a significant number of users searched for, even if a term received a click. You may now see fewer terms in your report. Absolutely ridiculous. So now I won't be able to see what term exactly triggered my ad, but I'll still have to pay for it. Google thinks their advertisers are complete idiots. Good grief. They're eroding our control constantly. There's no way that helps advertisers. Some stats from a new campaign I launched a few days ago: 28 clicks in total and only 13 search terms are being shown. They are hiding more than 50% of the terms, which is ridiculous. I think this new change is clearly worse for campaigns with limited search volume, whereas it probably won't affect much campaigns with keywords that get hundreds or thousands of impressions per day. In any case, there's nothing good about this. But unfortunately Google can do what they want, and I doubt they are going to reverse this decision. There's a petition going on at the moment. Not sure if it's going to make any difference to Google's decision. I just posted this in another thread. I think this is why they're hiding search terms. So we can't see how poor their matching is. I kept looking into ways of how to see the hidden search terms in Google Ads and came across a blog post where someone recommended to use Google Analytics to identify those terms. Can't seem to find the link now, but it's pretty simple. Basically, you connect Google Analytics from your site that's being advertised with Google Ads, then use the Acquisition tab in Google Analytics and go into Google Ads. Then search queries to see all the terms. I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, but you definitely get more data there, compared to Google Ads, so you could use it to neg irrelevant terms that would otherwise cost you money without you being aware of them. Looks like it didn't take Google too long to close the loophole of finding Google Ads search terms in Google Analytics, unless I haven't managed to figure out how to use Google Analytics 4 ? As far as I understand, they got rid of the older Universal Analytics setup, which had the option to go into acquisition greater than Google Ads greater than search queries. And there you would see all the search terms triggered, even those hidden in Google Ads. Now with Google Analytics 4, you go into acquisition greater than traffic acquisition and there's nothing there, apart from the source of traffic. It's a total joke. The Analytics and Google Ads are both linked, so that's not the issue. Anyone? Am I doing it right? I've not really looked tbh. We normally have very targeted keywords to start with. We're still seeing enough data in the search terms to determine what new campaigns to build rather than what negatives to add. Our strategies are normally more about creating lots of targeted keywords than using lots of negatives. With local lead gen campaigns, I usually use broad match modified keywords, and despite including a location in the keyword, you can still catch some silly stuff, which is not relevant and needs to be negged to avoid wasting the budget. We're not talking about thousands here, but I hate the fact that I can't see what I'm paying for, and knowing Google, they make every effort to trigger your ad for closely related terms, when oftentimes it's useless scrap. Yeah? Agreed. Their matching gets fuzzier as they hide the search terms. How important is it to set up Google My Business? Do you even use it for local lead gen? I just set up Google My Business for a client and I start to collect the first reviews on it. Furthermore, there are these little ads you can place between this listing. Are they worth it? Or should I stay just to the old search ads? Thank you in advance. Do it. Do you still do lead generation, Andy? Yep. Some clients want leads or inquiries. Others are doing e-commerce and are going for online transactions. Local lead gen campaign structure for Google or Bing. --1 campaign targets the whole of the US. Keywords : plus service plus location plus state KD.G. plus assisted living plus Charlotte plus NC for large cities or unique location names. You can do just : plus service plus location.G. plus assisted living plus Chicago plus home care plus Texas. 2 campaign targets the state, assumes unique location names in the state. Keywords : plus service plus location.G. plus home care plus Charlotte. 3 campaign targets your catchment area. Keywords : plus service plus near me etc. Your ads should match your keywords. Get ninja points if your landing pages match your ads. Looks like I've got excited a bit too early about finding Google Ads search terms in your analytics account, because I can't seem to find them no longer in Google Analytics 4 ? Am I doing something wrong? Is there an option in Google Analytics to look up search queries at all, whether it's organic or through Google Ads? I would assume that it's under acquisition and then traffic acquisition, but you can only see the source of the traffic there and nothing else. Anyone using Google Analytics 4 and has figured out how to see search terms? Andy and everyone else who's doing Google Ads, you may want to read this. If you still haven't heard of the latest changes coming to the broad match modified keyword match type, I'm sort of 50 or 50 on this change, because in a way it's going to make search terms more relevant, but at the same time it's going to limit your outreach, as matching won't be on a word level, if you know what I mean. So if you're currently bidding on plus Adidas plus trainers BMM keyword, then your ads will get triggered on every single search term that contains those words, meaning you're getting maximum traffic, but need to make sure you filter it properly and neg all the irrelevant stuff. However, with the updated phrase match, which is going to replace BMM match, your ad will be triggered for Adidas trainers, Adidas sneakers, where to buy Adidas black trainers, but not for trainers Adidas. So basically, the updated phrase match won't work in the reverse order, meaning it will trigger your ad for search terms that contain your specified words, but they will have to be in the same order and have the same or similar meaning. You may also get new words that will appear between your specified words, but again, only if the order that you originally specified is the same. I think this is a limitation, and to be honest, they should have removed the phrase match and kept the BMM instead, because frankly phrase match is useless. If you can use BMM properly with added negatives to filter the search terms being triggered. Anyway, most advertisers won't give a monkey and will swallow this the same way they did the search terms report update. I'll get my coat. I agree. They should have kept broad match modified and got rid of phrase match. We'll see how it pans out. I was going to do a video on this tonight. New to FLF, just signed up for your bootcamp. Trying to help a friend get more clients while learning basic copy or ads or website or campaign stuff. I'm going through all your AdWords posts from over the years. Man, you have provided so much. Thank you. Oh cool. Glad to have you on board. I had to create the course because people spent so long going through all my Google Ads threads. Hey, first of all, thank you very much for the provided value. I am starting my first lead gen website right now and just activated my first campaign a minute ago. I spent hours reading though all your posts regarding Google paid search and they helped me a lot at building the confidence to start. So I would like to ask you a question. My campaign is set to search campaigns only. When I just checked if my ads are live for the keywords I provided, all I would see is that Google put an ugly ad in the map section of the result page. No copy whatsoever. I appended a screenshot of the results page. See the first maps entry labeled with anzige apostrophe. Do you have any idea why that is the case? Can I disable this somewhere? Should I disable this? I am worried that I don't have the control over this particular issue. Thank you very much for any help, and thanks again for all the help already provided. Felix. Just an aside. Check it's not got search partners or display enabled. When we select search only, Google ignores us and has display enabled by default. Which is your listing? I don't see results like that in Ireland or the UK. That was quick. I checked. It should be set the right way, the first result in the maps section right below the orange text. Well, I did figure out why my ad wasn't showing as expected. I had my ad blocker activated. I still haven't figured out why Google would show an ad for the Google Maps entries though. Are you looking at Google My Business listings? Those aren't ads. No, I am talking about the pink rectangle in the screenshot in my previous post. The first entry in the list is prefixed by, which is German for advertisement. I'm pretty positive that this is an ad. But I cannot recall ever setting anything like this, which is why I am surprised. If you have location extension which is attached to a verified GMB account, I think it may sometimes show in Maps as an ad as well, depending on the keyword. I just noticed this on one of my ads yesterday and was wondering how to take it off. Doesn't seem like you can.